Um, First, we'll call the meeting to order. It is 7:02, and the first thing is our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call.
All right, Ms. Bowenbacher. Here. Mr. Chandler? Here. Ms. Compatello?
Here.
Mr. Hope? Here. Mr. Oliverio?
Here.
Ms. McCalmick?
Here.
Mr. Radilla? Not here yet. Absent. Mayor Perry is also absent. Oh, no.
No, she's here. She's here.
Thank you. Solicitor Corbel?
I'm here.
Engineer Keenan? Here. And myself. We do have a quorum.
All right, great. First, I want to thank everybody. This is so awesome to see everybody here for our meeting. So it's great to see them and to hear what you have to say, because we have obviously very important agenda items to go over. And we want to hear what you say about those agenda items, specifically the zoning and of course the garbage contract, because these are big for all of our residents. And that was really important as we move through this process to get public opinion on these things. The first order is the consent agenda. So for council on the OneDrive, there were the meeting minutes from August 8th, also the bill list and monthly reports. So looking for a motion to approve the August 22nd, 2024 consent agenda, pending bill list approval by the borough president, manager, and treasurer.
So moved.
Ms. Bolenbacher,
Second.
Mr. Chandler, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Okay. Public comments on agenda items. At this time, citizens may address the Grafton Borough Council on any issue appearing on today's agenda. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Grafton will be permitted to address the council. Comments on non-agenda items will be taken at the end of tonight's meeting. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. We'll have a little chime that the solicitor will have at the end of 3. And groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council and who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Council has the option to respond or not at the end of the address. Please state your name and physical address for the record. Now, an addendum to this is, of course, comments regarding the waste RFP and also the zoning ordinance will be taken during those agenda items. So as we go through the agenda, those items will be taken during those sections. So if you have questions or comments that you want to do on either one of those, hold them until the next. So this will be for any agenda items except for those. We will also address Zoom folks. So we'll look at the in-person list here. You have, oh, there we go. Okay, so we'll call people in the order that they are here. The first one is Michael.
And this is not regarding zoning or
okay.
waste management.
Inspection, waste, okay.
Rental. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Michael Gable, 85 Noble Avenue. Thank you for my comments. Few questions, and first of all, the inspection frequency, when I read about that report, it actually to me looks pretty good as a landlord. I'm pretty happy with it, but there were some comments in there that I did have. In talking with some of you for the meeting, I know some of this is just clarifications, so exactly what it's worth. And if anybody wants to wrote down everything you want to say, so first of all, putting down the list, I don't think that's 16C clarification. You say properties with a history of code violations require inspection every 5 years, but then you have 4 in parentheses. You know, something to clarify there is 5 versus 4.
Yep.
Also, why would a property with bad history be permitted to go 4 or 5 years between inspections while the rest of it says only 3 years? Right, so you clarified that for me, but just 90-17A. That's for adequate fire insurance. I guess my clarification here is what is adequate? Who determines what adequate is? Fire boards. I don't know, just something that needs to be a little more clarification that way. Also, same thing for repair or replacement. What is an appropriate amount? I have good insurance, but at the same point, if you're not enough or too much, it'd be nice to know what that stands. 90-17B, I would think, I mean, again, this is referring specifically to this. I would think that failure to pay should be something the recipient of the tax should be well aware of. The mechanism should already be in place to get paid. Requiring periodic proof of payment from an owner to me seems a little excessive. Now, if you're not paying, that's another story, but again, there should be mechanisms in place for that. 90-18, will the referral be reaching out to owners that have already registered, or must we now re-register once this is in place? And for those that decide not to re-register, what's the penalty gonna be for people who just don't want to? That's a problem. 918A5, number of tenants according to what, or, I mean, I don't know how many people can live in each unit. I have two bedrooms and a one bedroom. Does that mean only bedroom should have two people in it? Or five, you know, I don't know how to determine what that would be. And what I think, but it may not be the law. 90-18B, to me, this section seems redundant because if the information is asked for, I would expect it to be accurate. It's not accurate. Why have a section in there saying it should be accurate? Again, clarifications. 90-18D, you guys suggest September 30th as being the end. I would like to propose instead maybe May 15th being better. Reasons, first of all, we're already submitting our taxes at that point and a list of residents, which essentially this is going to have us do anyway. But the other thing, the bigger thing, is September, we're coming up on winter. If there's any improvements that need to be made, we're running out of time. If we can do it in May, it gives us a little bit more time to get the outside improvement put in. Okay, last thing for this part, inspection, I know it's gonna cost something, but is the cost gonna be by property or by unit? So that's just something to consider. It's not clarified in there, but that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm trying to go through all of these because they have different sections for everybody. The next one I had was Jake Miger. You didn't have a reason for it. Jake? No?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Michael Tracek? Oh, is zoning, I'm sorry, zoning. Mary, you didn't have a reason.
We're supposed to sign in.
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay.
Oh, that's, thank you, Mary.
Okay. You want to give a speech? Well, you're going to be presenting, right? Yeah, shortly. Okay,
I think that second one is Jane.
Jane. Yeah, it's for waste.
Oh, gotcha.
For waste. Yeah. Laura Hugney, there wasn't a reason for Laura. Oh, no. Okay. Okay. Karen Tomsick.
I was just signing in also.
Okay, okay.
Mary's like, I'm not alone.
Okay. All right, Nicole Braylick.
Just signing in. My neighbor did that for me.
Let's see, Cody, you have miscellaneous and then the zoning.
You know what, I'm thinking that that's for citizen comments off that month.
To the end, okay. Okay. And Mr. Wolbert? You have questions?
Robert,
Yeah.
That one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I saw the one.
so the first speaker pretty much touched base on my questions,
Okay.
the cost of fees,
Mhm.
I'd like to know what they are.
Okay.
Other than that, pretty well covered.
Okay.
Can I bring up one other comment?
Yeah, you have to come up and say your name and where you live and, yeah.
I'm Robert Wolbert. I live on 1 Steuben Street. And my question is with the Craft Boulevard design.
Mhm.
It's an awful design. I think the architects or the engineers of design, I guess I would Stratmore or Sterrett.
Sterrett, okay.
Sterrett coming down on the boulevard
Oh.
and Baldwin Road. I see you have added a stop sign before you come down around the bend. Because it was very treacherous with cars coming up and cars coming down at the same time. Don't you think the engineers and architects that designed that should be responsible for what they've done at Broadway and Sterrett?
Good. Thank you, Mr. Wilbur, yeah. Then I believe that is it. Everything else is related to the garbage or the zoning. Unless anybody else. I was incorrect in looking at these.
Is my name on that, list?
Yeah,
It is, so it's not really.
yeah, it would be at the end. Yeah, because it's not on an agenda item, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be at the end. So now we will go to our folks on Zoom. So if you're on Zoom and you want to talk about one of the agenda items except for the garbage or the zoning, just raise your hand.
We need to scroll down too. There's more. It would come to the top if they raise their hand. It automatically will pull it up to the top.
There is a Q&A. Do we need to check that?
Oh, yes.
There's one thing in Q&A. That says zoning on it.
What's it?
Zoning.
That Q&A is in reference to zoning.
Great.
And future rentals.
Okay. I think I have everybody, so. Anybody else that I missed that wasn't on the sign sheet or wants to make comment about agenda item? Yeah.
I don't know when you want this brought up, but, we're having a little issue, with.
Just your name and address.
Oh,
Sure.
Greg
We'll
Moore,
work, yeah.
37 Noble Avenue.
Mhm.
With some of the people in the borough as far as this zoning, what we need. We were trying to occupy or put tenants into the American Legion building
Mhm.
that we plan on refurbishing if we ever are allowed to let people go in. I got a letter in the mail from the borough saying we're gonna start being fined if we didn't get a structural engineer to come in and look at the building because it was a garage door cutter. Okay, so I called DJ and I went down and talked to him. He said, well, he's not.
Mr. Wilbur, is it on the zoning then? Is it on the zoning? Okay, so we have it on the agenda, so.
It's not on the zoning amendment.
This is
though.
not.
Yeah.
It's not,
But it's not on the agenda.
it's not an agenda item.
Yeah,
It's not just, you have to wait till the end of the meeting.
Okay, that's what. I'm
yeah,
doing.
yeah, I want to make sure, yeah. I just want to be fair to everybody, but if we go, I'll add you onto the list. Okay. Okay. So next is the president's report, and we have a presentation by the Shade Tree Commission on an exciting project called the Giving Grove. So I'll let Karen and Mary, representing the Shade Tree Commission, go through their presentation.
Good evening. I'm Karen Benton, representing the Shade Tree Commission. Shade Tree Commission is seeking council approval to move forward on a project with the three Pittsburghs.
They switch this
Giving
up there.
Grove. No?
The microphone's just for Zoom, pretty much, right?
Can you hear?
I'll see if I can turn it up.
Okay.
It's on.
It's on.
It's on.
Is that better?
Better?
Now you guys are.
Is that okay?
I think you turned it on.
No, I didn't touch it.
Here, maybe you turned it.
Mike, can you see it?
Everybody?
Just getting it from this.
Well.
It's on.
Then we'd have to put a 12. Oh, it's 12. Okay. How's that? Is
I
that
think
better?
it might work now.
All right. Is it, can you hear?
It's not on.
Is that not plugged in? I don't know. I don't know why it's not on.
The light's on.
Okay. I'll try and project, all right? So let me reintroduce, I'm Karen Benton. I'm representing Shade Tree Commission this evening. We are seeking council approval to move forward on a project to work with Tree Pittsburgh's Giving Grove program to plant a little orchard in Crafton Park adjacent to the community garden. And if you, Larry put up that visual, you'll see that the community garden is a big rectangle and the colored dots. So that represents the site. So produce from the orchard will be donated to the local food bank. Now I want to give you a little background on the Giving Grove program. It's a 501c3 nonprofit that began 10 years ago in Kansas City, Missouri. And then it began expanding nationwide in 2017. And currently there are about 550 little, they call them little orchards. That have been created nationwide, including in Atlanta, Cincinnati, Dallas, Denver, Memphis, Omaha, Seattle, and of course Pittsburgh. This year, Pittsburgh, chapter of Giving Grove will plant at least 8 orchards. If this won't be 8, if we approve this. The purpose, it increases tree canopy with all its benefits, but specifically fruit trees with the purpose of benefiting the needy. It's really all the way around is it's a giving program. And you read on the agenda that it's 100% grant funded. So it is literally a gift. I'm going to read the program director's words. She gave us a summary. And Kimberly Bracken wrote the following. So this is what she does. I come the week before to measure, flag the site, and spray paint the circle of where we will dig and plant. I arrived 30 minutes before the planting with tools, deer fencing, and stakes, the trees, and an additional staff or 2. And we sat at the table. You can bring snacks, and we always bring plenty of drinking water. Oh, yes. And she can also organize a volunteer group to supplement whatever we are able to produce. And she said often it's a corporate group. They can also provide mulch. That's something we can discuss since our community produces it. So what do we provide? We provide the site. And then we develop it the follow on. So where do we stand right now? As you can see from the visual, the proposed site is a flat open area adjacent to the community garden next to a few existing fruit trees. It's the site of a former tennis court, and Mary Luxbacher did some research and learned that the asphalt has long since been removed. And I think Larry, were you going to comment about any infrastructure or any site suitability this time?
Nothing in the report at this time, other than there's an existing water line and spigot that should have been there in the past.
So, and then Kimberly has already done the initial site visit, and she's created this basic planting design for up to 17 3 to 5 gallon trees. So a 5 gallon tree is going to be about like this. It's little, but it has a physical presence. You'll know that there's an orchard there. She's coordinating currently with Andrea, the garden manager, to make sure the design is compatible with the garden needs. For example, there's a little white rectangle to the left, that's the garden shed, and Andrea wants to make sure it stays easily accessible to her volunteers. So let's just say, this will surely be tweaked, and quite likely we won't have 17 trees. I'm going to guess 8 to 17. And the trees we're working from Kimberly Smith, primarily apples, pears, some peaches and cherries, things that have a longer shelf life, and that people, they have persimmons and pawpaws on this, but we think are more desirable fruit. And then we're aiming for a late October weekday planting, working in the Kimberly schedule, and probably using a couple of our public works volunteers. That's to be determined. And in care plan, there's a water source. We will water the first few years, and they are very generous with their aftercare. They want these little orchards to succeed. They have workshops, videos on pruning, and then of course there is the opportunity to develop a volunteer group to help artists. That's something that we have a few years to work on. So just in closing on this presentation, I just want to emphasize that I was really astonished that it's a very well organized program, and they do everything possible to ensure success. And it's a very nice opportunity for our community.
Yeah.
That's.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
Mary's like,
As usual, we need commercials. Since we do have so many people here, the Public Works guys, thank you. They have been the guys planting most of our trees. But on this day, we would like to also have volunteers from the community since Tree Pittsburgh is coming in. But the guys, seriously, you would love to see them in action. And that's what I'm advertising is, if you would like a street tree, this is the time, probably by the end of September, put your name into the office. I think there's a form online that you are interested, that members of the tree commission, we kind of go around to as many houses as, we can, and kind of check out the area, and then we talk to you. You have a choice sometimes of the kind of trees we would like to plant, because they are supposed to be providing shade and things like that. They're not just ornamental trees. And so that's kind of the big thing I wanted to say, and I want to ask council to really, the trees that, again, these guys helped plant, that are above the CIT field. The fruit is going right now to though they're kind of done right now, but going to the food bank, and the people are very appreciative to get fresh fruit. It's really good. Good thing.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Karen, and Mary. Great presentation. I want to emphasize some things from the Shade Tree Commission standpoint, that this is all grant funded by Giving Grove through Tree Pittsburgh. So there's no cost for the trees, the planting, the deer protection, and the maintenance is just on to us. So all the trees will be planted at no cost to residents or anybody. So for council, there is a motion, or we need a motion to approve the fruit tree orchard in Crafton Park through Giving Grove program through Tree Pittsburgh. So, Mr. Rodello, Mr. Chandler, second. Questions or discussion?
Are there any pesticides used on the trees?
I can't 100% comment on that, but I'm gonna guess it's gonna be organic. So, and possibly there are gonna be some non-pesticides, techniques that can help us. The current trees do not need.
Yes.
And the list also shows disease and insect resistant trees from the list that they're recommending. So the apples, pears.
I'm assuming this is obviously in the park, so it's a much more publicly traveled location than maybe the CIT ones.
No, the little league one.
The little, oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah, no, they're in the park.
but they are in the park currently.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're, we can show it on the map. They're next to, are you pointing like, look, keep on going.
They're right on that ridge.
Yeah,
Oh, right here.
on the,
Above,
no,
above.
on the left.
To the left of the red numbers. Right
There they are, there they
Where
are.
the
Gotcha.
trees are.
the road by the field.
And are, just because you mentioned apples and some other things, is this something that residents are allowed to go and pick? Are they encouraged? Are they discouraged to? What's the etiquette there?
Mary?
Discouraged.
A couple of them have been picked, but it's, if people are eating them, that's a good thing. There is a sign that has been put up saying that it's for the food bank. Not every person on earth obey that, no, but hopefully they're eating them.
Yeah.
Got it. And that's part of it. If you do need it, go and take them. They are for the community, so.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, mayor's report. The mayor's out of the country, but she is on Zoom.
Yes, there really isn't anything to add, and I wanted to cede the time to all of our commentators tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Manager's report, Mr. Price.
All right, now start the fun. First thing on the agenda is the waste collection RFP. So I'm gonna explain where we're at on it, and then we can open it up for comments. And so Crafton has had a contract with Waste Management for 10 years. In 2013, Crafton signed a 5-year contract with Waste Management with 5 option years. That contract ends, its final option is December. So the borough needs to have a new service in place by January 1st, 2025. This means the borough needs to competitively bid for a new hauling contract, and we are legally obligated to choose the lowest bid on the combination of services that we choose. So the different types of services that we're looking at today are what allow us to choose between the 3 options because there's different services for each one. And I'm just going to discuss real quick some market changes that have happened. The market has changed immensely since our last contract in 2014. 3 major factors are causing prices to go up around the region. And the first is that the most significant reason is that China cut off the American recycling market in 2018. Prior to that, we were allowed to send recycling that was up to 10% contaminated. But they cut us off and then they were only allowing 0.5% contamination rates after that. And our commingling practice does not allow for that. So that dramatically increased and changed the market. You heard a lot of people not being able to recycle glass after that. A lot of things changed. The second major reason for a change is partially the result of the first, which is an industry drive for innovation and automation dealing with that change. So for example, Waste Management just recently invested millions into the material recovery facility. And I know what Valley Waste is also building or is investing in their material recovery facility right now as well. And then the final thing affecting the market is affecting every market, and that is inflation. These 3 factors have led to communities in the region seeing increases up to 100%. I'm sure a lot of you saw that last year, Scott Township had to raise their taxes by 54%, was all over the news. And so we were concerned that not having been out the bid in 10 years, what was this going to do to Crafton? And what was it going to do to our prices? So we did everything we could to keep these prices as low as we can. So in preparation for putting this bid out, we contacted the 5 primary hauling agents in the region, which is Big Sanitation, Republic Services, County Hauling, Waste Management, and Valley Waste Services. We discussed what we could do to receive the best service at the lowest price. And the resulting bids came from 3 different haulers. We received 2 for manual collection, and we received 1 for semi-automated collection, with increases from the current annual pricing changing about 16 to 21%. So next year's increase is going to be between 16 and 21%, depending on what we choose this year, which is a far cry from what a lot of other municipalities have been seeing in the region. And so from those 3 bid packets, we determined that County Hauling did not have a low bid on any of the options that we're going to choose, so they're not one of the options. So we're down to 2 manual collection options from Valley Waste, 1 with a dual axle alley collection and 1 with a single axle alley collection, and I'll talk about why that matters in a second. Waste Management bid on semi-automated collection with dual axle pickup in the alleys. A few concessions were made to ensure the lower price. That is, we limited the number of bags that could be collected. We agreed upon mutually agreed upon option years, meaning that if we want to, let's say we choose a 3-year contract and we want to do year 4, we have to mutually agree upon that with Waste Management or with Valley Waste. So, and that hopefully was able to lower that initial price again a little bit by doing that. And then we also added flexibility of having the borough collected on separate days. And Valley Waste includes that. So with that in mind, we have 3 options to consider today. Semi-automated versus manual collection is the first one. Manual collection, everyone is familiar with. It's what we have now because that's what Waste Management does now. And that's what Valley Waste is offering in their contract. But the only difference is that they are limiting it to 5 bags. Now, those bags, the size of those bags does not matter. It's the weight that matters. So really want those bags to be less than 40 pounds. And then if you need more bags, or if you're putting out more than 5 bags on a regular basis, you can buy tags from Valley Waste. And they're $5 for 10 tags. And then you just put those tags on your bags if you're having more taken. So that's manual collection. That's what we all know already. Semi-automated collection is what Waste Management is offering. There are 2 levels of automation available. One is fully automated, one is semi-automated. Fully automated is where you have 1 driver in a truck driving the streets with an automated arm, and they robotically control that automated arm to pick up the trash. Our streets don't allow for that. We have people parking on street, we have narrow alleys. So they bid on semi-automated collection. Semi-automated collection is where you have two people in the truck. And one person pushes or moves the cart into position and then it's lifted by a mechanical device. So it saves them labor and hours and whatnot. Now, automated requires a specific cart. Those are the carts right there that Waste Management uses. The largest one is the 96 gallon. That's the one that is would be given to everybody in the borough if they chose to go with that. That can hold up to 300 pounds. But there are smaller options available if people need them. If you have elderly people or whatnot who can't use them, we do have other sizes. The middle one is a recycling one, and that's a 64 gallon. And the smallest is 35 gallons. 35 gallons, yes. So those are the automated collection. Now, each resident will also receive a 64 gallon recycling container. And I'll say that the best way to eliminate waste or those number of bags is to recycle better. If you don't recycle well, it's going to be harder to keep your trash in that 96 gallon bin or within the 5 trash bags. If you do need an extra cart, the price is currently $117 annually based on their contract. And if the cart is stolen, it is $65 to replace it. And we suggest you have a police report filled out. Alley service versus single axle versus dual axle. So a single axle truck is a lighter truck. And we looked into getting a single axle for alley pickup because it's potentially cause less damage to our infrastructure. We have experienced some damage in several places due to dual axle trucks, but wasn't that significant, but it's something to consider. Recycling, hard to recycle products and bulk items. Recycling will, in either contract, any of the contract, the recycling will remain every 2 weeks. For value waste, glass is repurposed. That means it's used as landfill cover. So it's not actually recycled. Glass is still recycled with Waste Management. All recycling for Waste Management must be placed inside the bin. So if you have cardboard, it does have to be broken down or cut and put inside the bin. Hard to recycle items can be collected, and I do have a mistake on this sheet that Waste Management informed me of. For bulk items, it's actually 2 items per month, not 1 item per month. And for valley waste, it's 1 item per week for bulk items. And then for yard waste, I know there were several comments about yard waste. Yard waste is collected by Public Works. So if you have yard waste, you don't need to, if you have bagged yard waste, we collect from April to November clippings and branches that are less than 5 inches. So you wouldn't have to be as concerned about that. And then service records, we had several people ask us about what their service records have been historically. So obviously we've been with Waste Management for 10 years, so we're pretty familiar with how their service is. Largely good. We do have some problem areas in the borough weekly. And that's probably will continue with any other hauler because there's some challenging areas of the borough. Valley has been operating in the region for 18 years. I contacted several municipal managers and no one had serious concerns. The only serious concern I heard from Valley Waste in regards to talking to the other managers was during COVID, they had a serious issue with getting trucks and drivers. So they did have Economy Borough one who reported some serious issues during that period, but otherwise they've had a great experience with Valley Waste. So with that in mind, that's where we're at on the bid comparison. And you can see, can you slide down the tab a little bit? You can see the prices for each one. If you want to expand the bottom, if you can expand that a little bit, there's a button at the very top with a plus. Yeah. No, to the left, right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Nope. Like in the middle, yeah.
There you go. And so these are the prices. If we go with Valley Waste, if we go with Waste Management semi-automated next year, the annual cost will be $344.68. If we go with Valley Waste dual axle, it is $329.60. And if we go with Valley Waste single axle, it's $341.60. And then you can see how the prices ramp up over the course of time. We are able to take a 3, 4, or 5 year contract based on this. And then we get the equal number of option years if we choose to go that way. So if we choose a 3-year contract, we can have 3 option years. We could do a 3-year contract and choose no option years at the end. That's up to us. But that's where.
Jim, quick
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Now, how is that just gonna be the same thing? It's gonna be 1-day pickup, or is this gonna be like there's the areas of crafting that will be picked up in separate days?
That's a great question. For waste management, it's 1 day. The borough will be picked up in 1 day. For Valley Waste, it would probably be broken up into multiple days, might be by ward. But it would be the same for I mean, your trash pickup day won't change. If you are on Wednesday next week, you'll be on Wednesday every week of the year. But if you get picked up on Wednesday, your mom who lives, 2 blocks over might get picked up on Thursday. But there'll be compact areas that will be separated, but that's a change in value, yes.
So part of this is that this process began late last year because we knew the waste management contract was going to end. So this process, we also started working on the RFP, talking to other boroughs, municipalities. You've probably seen things in the paper about all this. Council and Mr. Price received the bids on July 19th. So council just received the outline information. We really haven't discussed it at all. And the first step we wanted to do is hear what you had to say. Now that you have time to review it, because it's really important, because we have to make the decision, but we want to know what because this affects all of you. So it's important that if you have comments, thoughts about all of these things, in the end, it's not going to be perfect, unfortunately. There's going to be people that aren't going to be happy. There's going to be people that will be happy, but probably people in the middle. That it's pros and cons for each. So we have to look at everything and see if we can deal with price is a big issue. There is an increase. The good news is it's not as significant. We were looking and expecting $600 per year is what we were expecting. $600 and up, 6 to 8. So that's a good news. And this contract, as you can see, can be for 3, 4, or 5 years with those option years. And we just came out of a 10-year contract. Where we are right now, we can't renew with what we have. The pickup dates, how we put it out now, that's off the table. That contract's over. But we can't ask questions. Mr. Killen is actually our Public Works Director, so we allowed him to speak. But we will have now, what we will do is people that signed up to have any comments, we'll go through you. And if anybody else wants to do it on the waste side, just raise your hand and then we'll also go to Zoom. So we certainly want to hear from you. Yeah, well,
You come up, yeah.
we'll go through first.
Yeah.
Not yet, we'll go through these fields first, yeah. So the first one is, Michael.
Okay, got me again. All right, thank you. First of all, thank you for all the clarity on this. Second, the thing I'm looking forward to learning more about now isn't so much the individual plans, it's that, again, I have a multi-unit. My problem is that I'm not paying one of these. In my case, I'm paying 3 of these a year for the 3 units I have.
Right.
I have a 1-bedroom, I have 2 2-bedrooms, I have 4 people living in my house. To pay for 3 units of trash to me seems over and above. I want to know if there can at least be reduced. I don't think this is a waste management. I don't think this is a provider. I think it's more of a council thing. I want to know if that can be reduced slightly. Maybe have me pay for 1 every 2 units instead. I'm okay with that. I don't like it, but I'm at least okay with that. So in my case, right, I have 3, I would pay for 2 services instead of 3. Right now, units up to 7 have to have individual for each of them. Thank God I don't have that. But again, same idea. If I had 6 units, maybe you pay for 3. If you have 7, maybe it's better to go off on your own. So that's my thing that I'm looking for. I'm trying to keep my neck down. Next thing, waste in regards to the 2 proposals. First of all, waste management. Since we've had it, the service has been very good. I have to acknowledge that. Second thing though, when I look at the quotes, my initial thought was, definitely stay with waste management. And then as I looked at it more, 21%, okay, that's fine. I'll live with that. They're all going to come up a little bit. But the 7% increase year over year to me is excessive. And I can't justify that. So that's one. Second thing, we're required to use the cart. I don't have a problem with the cart, except that in my unit, I bought 2 of the coder carts that have the attachments that are perfectly capable of being picked up at dumps. And I don't want 3. I certainly don't have to buy 3. I would prefer to use the old cards I had, and I don't think that that's an option based on what I've heard. I don't want to have to buy another $117 worth of card plus 7% every year to cover the same. Okay. Third thing, what do we do with the existing cans? The cans I have, I got $250 sent in trash cans right now, the way you cut them up and throw them in these, so they can throw them into the recycling. And then what happens again in 3 years from now, when we go through this all again, you have to go out then and buy all new cans, as would anybody else that decided to toss there. So as far as waste management, that's my negative towards that. Valley Waste, the original comments I saw on Facebook, I saw people comment were, they're horrible. But the thing of it is you all said, they're really not that bad. Couple comments I had, questions was regarding the bags. Do you have to buy a specific bag to use? Okay, and I was clarified beforehand, but that's not the case. Second thing, does everything have to be in a bag? So if you dump in grass, does it have to be in a bag? And clarification I got beforehand was yes, it does. So at least I understand that better. As far as bag tags, I know you're working on trying to figure out how those would have to be purchased if that was the case.
But we know you purchase a pack of 5 and they're $10.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
It's just a matter of where you get them and how you handle all that.
Yep.
So other than that, looking at their two proposals, the only thing I see difference is the axles in the truck. Somebody said earlier that the damage that the dual axle caused was less than $3,000. Well, 3,000, whatever. To me, it's a no brainer. You gotta go with that plan. So for me, I'm in favor of option 3. Thank you.
And I like the idea, if you want to give your opinion of which one we should choose, I think that would be really valuable to us at the end of what you're saying. Thank you. All right, next, Jane Boyer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for the diversity of this council. This is a very, it's very well organized and charted. I really like that. My question is in reference to bulk items. It's been addressed, but I think that bulk items are important, but it said that, our current picker-upper, if I may say, for lack of a lay term, would be for waste management only once a month. And would you have to register? Would you have to call? Would you have to schedule to pick up with that change? And is there a stipulation between what you can do for bulk items versus, and would we be extended with at your doorstep? Help me out here, council, at your doorstep, special collection?
Yeah,
Would
for
you
our
have to
doors,
call?
that
Would you
is.
have to register? Would there be a flyer? Would you be able to pay your bill with waste management? Because I'm signed up for the website, but it doesn't recognize my account number. Would that change? Because my account number belongs to Crafton Borough. They said you don't have an account number. Whenever I say what borough are you from, okay, well, you can't pay your bill currently, but I have a bill just in case I want to clean out the garage this winter. So am I able to, there's no illustration here as far as I can see, but you guys are more adapt to that. You want to rent a dumpster. And would you have to schedule that? I mean, obviously we'd have to call. How would you pay for that at the borough? Would you have to have a permit for that? Or are you allowed to have it in the driveway? Would that change? Bulk items once a week, usually that's the way I did. I got rid of a couple mattresses. I got rid of the dresser, but once a month. And would you have to pay for that? Would you have to schedule? I scheduled and they said, why are you calling us? You don't have to schedule with entertainers. We just understand that you're allowed one bulk item, and how many bulk items per month are you allowed to? How would that change the world? I mean, those are good questions. Here, you can pay your school taxes at Crafton Borough, but can you pay with waste management with that change? Because there is an option, but maybe such as for like Mr. Wilbur has property. He can maybe do that because he has a separate account for his property. What about a single homeowner, which is most of the public?
Thank you. Thank you, Jane. Great. Okay. Next
Okay.
is,
And perhaps there's written on here, forgive me, but I'm probably over my 3 minutes, but it's a lot of information. Forgive me.
I'm sure. Okay, great. Ms. Smith, Lisa?
Lisa Smith, 50 Walnut Street. Some of the things have already been mentioned. But another thing is this, I'd like option 3. I don't have access. I have to drag my garbage down a steep incline, a grassy one. There's no way I'm toting that thing down there by myself without it rolling me down the street. I don't want a little one. There's 3 people in my household. I need the bigger one. I'd rather use trash bags for when I run out of room instead of having to use that. I don't like the way that the price goes up so much year after year. I think it's a no-brainer too, that we go with option 3. I also don't like the, 2 items per month. Again, what's that, a certain, like the first and the third time that you pick up trash, you have to schedule that. It doesn't tell us anything. I'd rather 1 item per week. What if my couch breaks? I gotta hold on to it for 3 weeks until I can throw it out. Like, there's not enough information there. But I do think that option 3 is really the way for us to go.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. All right. Next is Jeff Costello.
How are you guys doing?
Are you neighbor?
I say, you and I had this conversation a few months after I moved in. It's a surprise, I think, you know, my father.
Tom,
I met your father at the Avon
Yeah, that's what I
conference,
heard.
yeah.
So I had to, it's,
Name
I was fortunate. but-
Oh, yeah, I'm
I'm
Jeff.
sorry, Jeff Costello, 31 Harrison.
You're good.
So I saw this from the other side. We saw Township went through one of the more messier battles.
Mhm.
And I also have the perspective that we moved from Stowe Township. When we moved, one of the things we were most happy about was getting away from waste management.
Mhm.
Or I'm sorry, Valley Waste, and coming to Waste Management. So we had a similar contract there, and ironically, we were deemed an alley picker. Their single axle truck was a pickup truck with raised sides that one person drove. You could get 4, I think it was 4 or 5 bags, they were supposed to be 40 pounds. They regularly left bags behind. There would be weeks that they wouldn't pick up the garbage. In Valley, the streets they would. But there's, if you're familiar with Stowe, you're actually down by the rock, there's a series of alleys that face around the challenge. Not far off what we have. So our overall experience with them was negative. Calling customer service, we'd be told they'd come the next day. They wouldn't come the next day. I think our pickup was a Wednesday or Thursday. By Friday, if they're not there, you have to wait till the following week. They weren't coming, and then the next week they would leave the previous week's trash because you were. I don't think we ever threw bulk items out, so can't speak to that. The one nice thing was they did have the electronics pickup, get the call, schedule it, and they would actually have us put it out. Excuse me. The overall though, like I said, when you buy a new house, it's my wife and I's first house together. What you should be excited about. That's. I moved to Stowe from Oakdale, Mayhew County Hall. So I've seen a little bit of each. Service provider. I mean, my vote, even though it costs more. You said that holds 300 pounds. I actually Googled to see how many like kitchen bags it would hold. It said like 7 to 10. A kitchen bag can weigh 30, 40 pounds depending what you have in it. You're getting, I won't say double, but you're getting a good percentage more with that kind of truck. So, I mean, that's my opinion. I think anybody can follow social media to see it. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Waste management doesn't come the next day either.
Next is Mr. Marks.
How's it going? Justin Marks, 31 Oregon Avenue. I don't like any of these options, to be completely frank. I really wish we could go with option 1, with option 3's pricing, if that was possible, but that's not what's in front of us today. You know, I share the concern about having to buy trash cans. I have 6 or so myself, and man, I don't know what the heck I'm gonna do with them. I have questions about what if you have more options too that would be billed directly to residents? Is that how that would work? And then the additional cans are an annual charge, so we have to pay just short of $10 a month to have a second can for trash. And what do we do about recycle bins? Is that charged the same price with Waste Management? Do we know?
you would have to ask Waste Management that question. I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that question.
because somehow we end up with way more recycle at my house than we do trash. So I'm actually more worried about having additional recycle cans. Yeah, the 6.8% increase is just crazy. I'd be curious if Waste Management has given us any explanation why it's almost twice as much as Valley Waste. And how Valley Waste can keep theirs at about half of that. That's interesting. If I was going for the service, I'd stick with option one. If we for some reason have to go with a cheaper option, option three, I suppose. Yeah, I really don't want to see it.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Great. That is it for our list. But what I want to do is go to the online folks, give them the opportunity. But I do want to hear from more of you about this, because we want to hear your opinions about what you think about what was presented too. So for anybody on Zoom, if you can raise your hand, and that's the bottom section on the Zoom.
Check the Q&A. Is there no more Q&A there?
That was on the trees.
So that, yeah, there's 2 comments about the trees, and scroll down, there's 1 more.
Hours.
So do we have any hands raised for?
There is a.
So the last one is about trash.
Yep.
It's what hours would Valley pick up garbage? Currently for where this person is, they pick up in the evening, 10 to 11 PM, which is
Oh, no.
late for sleep. Do we know what hours Valley would pick up?
It's required to be between 6 AM and 6 PM.
Okay. So for these, we have to have the person's name and address before we can respond, so that we make sure that they're Crafton residents. So if you do have a comment, please raise your hand. On Zoom, okay, we do have somebody.
Every sure he's muted.
I guess.
Yeah, this is Rich Suhunt, 67 Duncan Avenue.
Okay,
and
thank you.
That was my question about the hours, because they come pretty late here on the commercial side. So it kind of keeps you up a little bit at 10, 11 at night. So that was my question, but thank you for answering it.
And Rich, what would be your vote?
Yeah, I mean, waste management hours, 6 AM to 6 PM, that works good.
For the trash collection.
Everybody has the same hours in the contract.
Well, like everybody else, the waste management option one is ideal, specifically with recycling, but if people go the money route, then 3 is going to be the only other option.
Yeah.
We have a lot of option 1 and 3 choices. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. So what about anybody here? You can raise your hand, again, the name, and we'll start on this side and then go. Go ahead. Yes.
I think Helen, including North Glenwood, kind of backing off of what other people have said, but again, I have 3 of those large containers as well, so what am I gonna do with them? I'm not gonna buy 2 more at $172. However, I do like waste management. I am not going to put my trash out in bags. What am I gonna do with the garbage cans I have right now? I also have 2 large recyclable cans that I have as well. In regards to the bags, when Valley doesn't pick them up, who's responsible for picking them up? Public Works. So you're taking them away from their job, they're supposed to be doing now to pick up the trash that Valley is not gonna be picking up. When Waste Management will do it. Yeah, I know some people have issues with Waste Management, but I've never had an issue with them, and I think that we get, a little bit with it, if you get, the contract and everything in place. But that's just my point of view, and I choose Waste Management.
Option 1. Okay, thank you.
Just a point of clarification there. Valley Waste is not suggesting that you put things out in bags. That is just how they calculate how much you can throw away. So your bags should be in cans. So if you already have cans, we expect you to put them in the cans, and that's actually part of our code that's required. But when they're dumping them in, they're watching for how many bags fall in. And if they get to 5, then they're gonna look, and if there's more, then they're gonna, look at needing more bags. Or needing
So they're counting the bags, but then when they get to the amount, they're gonna stop and then leave your trash there. So
Yeah.
again,
If they're
Public
not,
Works is gonna come and pick up your trash.
If you don't have tags.
We'll have rats.
Public Works is gonna come pick up the trash they don't pick up.
And it's unfortunate, these are the options too that we have, if you remember, because it's only that or the bags. Those are.
That's why I'm saying Waste Management doesn't have like a set only amount of bags they'll pick up.
Right, yeah, it'll be whatever in
Right.
this
So
here.
they'll
Yeah.
fit in those containers.
Okay.
Can I ask a question for clarity, because I've heard it said a couple times, are we physically purchasing those cans with Waste Management, or are they provided in the
They
contract?
are
that we're signing?
provided in the cost.
So we are not spending $344 a year to start plus a garbage can,
No.
it's just 344, and we get the garbage can,
Correct.
okay.
So the garbage can is owned by Waste Management at the end of the contract, so they will take it back.
Okay.
So residents do not have to buy a new garbage can unless they want extra, but they will have the garbage cans they already have. To figure out what to do with.
maybe we could do a trash can and buy that.
All right, we'll do this gentleman, go ahead, yeah. First, then we'll come.
My name is Brian Martin, I live at 110 all day. I do have access for like the trash pickup, but. Mr. Manager, can you provide us with the townships or municipalities that you talk to about valid waste? Because I've only seen them in the rural areas, out in the country, not in the local communities.
Sure. Beaver Falls, Harmony Township, Kennedy Township, Economy Borough, and Conway Borough.
And just another question with trucks, like so axle, no axle trucks. No axle trucks are supposed to work the weight on road. The single axles, you're not gonna be able to haul as much, so that's gonna create more traffic in the community, our children. And everything during the summertime. Our trash gets picked up all hours of the day. So I would think to go with the less traffic in our community.
So you're
So
thinking
option one.
option 1 or 2?
One.
One with Waste Management? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, AJ? Okay.
That's curious, 75 Radford Avenue, thanks for this, it's very clear and helpful. Just a couple of comments, number one, we've been with Waste Management for a long time and they've serviced most people well. If we address social media, Valley, no concerns, even though you say that that's different. I'm wondering if there's a way to go back and talk to Waste Management one more time about some of the concerns. Multiple dwellings, is there any concept for people who have obviously, or the government is speaking for, or you? Are there a couple of things that people have raised that we can go back to them and raise and see if we can't get any more leeway on that? And even so much as the increase, but we understand the cost.
And what was your choice?
So I would do option one.
Okay. And solicitor, can you address that too?
So this was a publicly bid contract. What's on the table is on the table. You can't bargain with either party. It is what it is. We can ask questions, get clarification about service and those types of things, but we can't go back and say, can you meet the price? Can you match this or that? Can't do.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Feel like Bob Barker calling it really out.
Michelle Beaver, 537 Willard Avenue. So, just out of curiosity on the bid for when you put out the RFP, it seems like you had a ton of options that they could bid on. However, what if you rejected all the bids and did a more specific bid, specifying type of truck you want versus like whatever the actual cracker counted? And then if you want cans or no cans or requiring cans. And also if you like maybe say, what's your bid for manual pickup or semi-automatic? Because I don't think tracking really could do full automatic because of our street. So maybe just limit it to 2 types of option and then have them rebid, because it's too many options. You're not comparing apples to apples, so you really can't make a valid decision based on all the variables. Just a thought to reject them all, which you can do, and rebid it. And I don't have a choice right now because I don't like any of them.
Okay.
And do you want to speak to the process of the rebid and how they all bid on all of them, actually? These are all the lowest bids on all the choices, so.
Right.
But so it's the lowest bids, but you don't have to choose the lowest bid.
You do.
The lowest responsible bidder.
Yeah, that's public.
That's the only reason we have 3 choices is because they're actually different options. We did ask every single one of them to bid on semi-automatic or manual. We asked every single one of them to do alley pickup or axle pickup. If they're not on there, they just didn't bid for them. And so we had that, Waste Management, for example, bid on no manual collection. They gave us no option for manual collection because they're, as an industry, moving away from it. Valley Waste didn't do any semi-automatic because they don't do semi-automatic. They only did fully or semi-automatic. I mean, I'm sorry, or manual. So every one of the options that you've seen here, we did ask all those
And
questions.
every bidder did all 7 or 8 bid option if they were operating.
If they were offering it, they did all 10. Yep,
Yeah.
everybody did.
And what we did is take the lowest of all of the different options, and that's what we're presenting tonight. And we, there were 5, there's only 5 choices out there of service.
So, I know the gentleman about my whole way, but so,
He is?
Yeah, Joe's out there.
so
So is,
you
so
don't
is,
have to put your trash in a can, but you can put your trash in a can if you want to.
Ordinance requires you to put your garbage in a can and secure it when you put it out to the curb.
Say that again? So you have to put your trash in a can moving forward.
always,
You
you
have to
do
do it
now.
today.
You do now.
It's in our ordinance.
Nobody does it.
Okay, so I know there's lots of people that don't put their trash in the can.
But it should, and and if it's bad, we cite them. We don't cite people who just leave one bag out.
And why does it have to be? If it's tied up and it's out.
Because it's raccoons, barmen, you shouldn't really have trash, even overnight, you really should have trash in a can.
Are the can raccoon proof?
It's better than nothing.
But just I was thinking rebidding, so you're comparing apples to apples for everyone.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, I think it'd be hard for a raccoon to lift that lid.
My name is Chris Young.
What's your last name?
Young.
Young, okay.
I'm at 50 Rogers Avenue. I basically live on an alley, so Rogers doesn't actually exist. And I've had a lot of problems with waste management, particularly in the recycling section. I've had to chase trucks down just to get back on the route before. And I've lived here for 12 years and I have this problem probably every 2 or 3 years when they change the guys that are driving the route. There's regularly garbage on my street that was definitely like, you know, maybe something fell out of the bag when they dumped the can, but they didn't pick it up. I've watched them do it. I get stuck behind the trucks where they just don't pick things up off the ground. I'm not saying that Valley will be any better, but based on the options and the increase over time, I think option 3 is best. I'm not even sure that even a semi-manual will get down on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Also, one more clarification. I tend to take cat litter back up in the buckets they came in. Sticking one of those in a can will probably break my garbage can. Is that gonna be allowable for it to sit outside the can like I do today?
Oh,
Because if you stick it in a garbage bag, you're gonna have cat litter not in that bag anymore. It's too heavy.
Yeah, I guess for waste management, you would just put it in the bin. For So you would,
Getting 30 pounds of powder.
yeah, but that's that's how it has to work for them. So that is how it works. So if you could break it down right into smaller amounts and put it in with Valley,
So it'd be 5 bags. Some though, wouldn't it?
but that's not 5 bags. There's no, that's
Well, I
just,
mean, I'm waste management, I don't even know where it is.
yeah, okay, then Valley Waste, you would be able to put it in whatever bag you put it in now and put it in a can. So just wrap it up in a bag and put it in a can. But yeah, you'd have to, you should probably put it in a bag.
Recycle it like.
Yeah, because you have the thing.
Yeah.
We can get clarity on those types of things. I think that's a specific question. We'll get clarity and we can put it in. Yeah.
Big item, not a big item, but it could be not a house, it might be something like a wooden piece of furniture, like a, anything. We're not taking that.
We'll get clarity on that and send something out, especially from the feedback today on Savvy Citizen about that. I know you're talking about the cat litter and the.
And after we get all comments, we do have Waste Management here and Valley Waste is here. So they can comment on some of these more detailed ones, once we're done with all the public comment.
Thank you.
David Kelly, and
Oh my God,
speaking from Public Works, one day in town with garbage trucks is enough. So imagine having 2 to 3 days in the winter time, snow removal, trash cans out. So I do like the 1 day pickup.
Option. What else? Okay. Okay. Did we have some people, going around? Okay. Then, oh, yes, we're gonna go this way.
Debbie Reagan, before Duncan. Debbie Reagan, 84 Duncan. One thing I'm concerned with is the bulk pickup. I don't think it's enough, because people will put things out, if it's not picked up, they'll just leave it for the next week, the next week, the next week. And then that will make this area really, really nasty. I know you're not in with what the contract will provide, but would the borough be willing to look at an option where they do maybe twice a year, if not more, a community pickup day, where we just bring our own trucks in and people can put out whatever they clean their garages with, you know, different things, so that the garbage doesn't accumulate. We're down something.
Mr. Killer. Yeah, because you do that already.
Would the borough be willing to have like?
We do, as now we have a 30-yard dumpster that's always there for some nuisance items that are around.
And you do.
But you would have to take it there. You know, I meant when you used to be that I go out and somebody in something. I think it's, yeah, it's to get rid of the people that don't care about their house and don't care about their neighbors. Yeah, I didn't want to say that.
But you do the October.
Yeah, we do the once a year.
Yeah.
Right, but you have to bring the garbage to that.
Yeah.
Some people don't have access to a truck or the physical ability to get the garbage to the park. And that's a good process, but it just,
You have to.
yeah, but having one or item, that's a lot. People are just gonna put things out and it's just gonna stay there.
And it's clarification, it's 2 items a month. Yeah,
Okay.
but
And I don't know if you're willing to say this now, but what is your opinion, what do you think of?
oh,
I don't, yeah.
I don't have any.
Yeah. But what is yours? So we want to know what your choice would be now.
I don't like Valley high limits, and, you know, I'm worried that if somebody's 6 or 7, they're just gonna leave their bags, and that neighbor's just gonna leave the bags. They're not gonna take it back up into their yard or something. I think those garbage cans for waste management are pretty hard to maneuver, especially for the older folks and people that live on hills. And I don't know how well they'll treat them. So when they get busted, when they be stolen, what happens? Then we'll have all these police reports and hopefully then we have no garbage cans. So I'm concerned with, we don't have enough history to make some good decisions. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're coming around, Mary?
This is, question is, when you say the size of the garbage bags, so if we had 5 leaf bags, that would work. Versus kitchen bags,
Yeah, but we suggest you use the 5 leaf bags and have Public Works pick them up for compost.
but not for leaf, I'm
That's
just.
just trash. It's 5 40-pound bags.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what size they are, it just matters how much they weigh. I mean, you're gonna get a good idea after a couple times of what it is, and they're not out there weighing them either. So I mean, if you have a 42-pound bag, they're probably not gonna, you know.
Very,
There is no specific type of
your
bag.
vote, please.
Oh, for composter, yeah.
Wait, guys.
I'm pleased with waste management, and I kind of think it's all semi-automatic now. They have that thing that it's up and down. But I would know that some people work if you live in a weird. Not that you live in a weird. Place to, I can see where they go.
So,
But I'm gonna go with
1, okay, thank you, Mary. Yeah, because of the microphone, if everybody can keep your chatter a little bit down.
I have a big loud.
Oh, yeah, okay, good. Uh-huh.
96 Sarah Street. Just 2 quick questions. So with these receptacles, does the lid have to be closed? Like if I've got to get stuff in there and like the lid's a little bit open, like is that a thing? Is it natural? With those? No.
We'll ask at the, we'll answer.
Oh, perfect.
And then the other question is, so someone who brought up, cans getting stolen, we've had that happen, so we spray painted our address on the side of our cans. Can you do that with these as well to make sure like, this is mine, don't take it? And my choice is just, quick and easy. And I have all the sympathy in the world because the economy is hurting us all and high prices just suck. But in my experience, you get what you pay for. So if we go for the cheapest, we're gonna get what we pay for. And I'm not interested in, not having the garbage taken care of in our borough. I want to know that it's being taken care of. Waste management has, been pretty good to us. I've very few complaints, so I would go with option 1.
All right, I can't see you back there. Oh, yes.
Sandy Moore, 1781 Moore Avenue. Just quickly, I think that being able to have 300 pounds of garbage for the price for waste management is better than the 200 pounds. But I would only go with a 3-year contract. I wouldn't go for all this. Try the 3-year contract and see what it comes up after that. That would be my vote.
There you go.
For option 1?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Ready? Yes, sir.
Michael Trask, 126 East Steuben. I've been happy with waste management, as option 1. When I'm looking at the pricing and the size of the bins, I think having to then, we end up generating a lot of trash, when you start paying $10 for extra bag tags. And you look at the difference in the pricing, even if you look at year 2 and year 3. A lot of people are looking at option 3 and option 1. By the time you buy 2 or 3 sets of bag tags, you're up, and added to option 3, you're already over the cost of option 1. And like I said, I've been happy with waste management. So my vote's option 1. One other question. If they are hard on the bins that they're providing and they break, are they gonna give us a new one? I mean, I know if it's stolen or it's lost, and we're responsible for buying a new one at $65, whatever that is. But if they break it, will they supply it?
Great question.
Right.
So again, with the questions, we'll gather them up and then ask those providers and then put them out on Savvy Citizen for everybody.
And they'll answer tonight. They've been taking notes. So they're gonna.
Okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Carl Fox, I live at 17 South Woodland. I have two questions because of a lot of older neighbors and I live on the Hopkins side, so we have the hill. For the folks who request the smaller cans, one, are they gonna be given two to be equal to this larger or close to equal? Will they get the balancing? If not, I think that might be, kind of a problem that they're being discriminated against for being older, for being handicapped, whatever. And then the other thing would be, how is it determined who would be a candidate to have smaller cans? So that's something that's gotta be figured out. Otherwise you could potentially have a liability on your hands. And then the other question I had was the visibility of these cans. I think we have an ordinance in the borough that we're not allowed to have the cans be visible. Currently, your garbage cans aren't supposed to be visible from the sidewalk. How the heck are we supposed to hide that? So we might want to revisit that.
Yeah. What's your vote?
Say again?
What's your vote?
I mean, I've never had a problem with waste management. Sorry, Valley guy over there. But I do think we need to get some other things clarified for a lot of people in the community.
Mr. Wozniak?
Hi, Greg Wozniak, so we certainly read the water avenue. I would be option one with Astrid. I would say that the can itself is probably the sticky point. So where I live, a big can is not a big deal, pretty much. Other people can't handle a can that big. Is the option that they could have two smaller cans instead of a big can, it's priced in small. So that someone that's for the reason of where they can put them or how they can handle it. So maybe we should look into seeing whether or not someone can have two small cans versus a big.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Wozniak. Mr. Marks, again? Yeah. Second time?
Can't believe this thing's not working. Where's the ID guys?
You left council too.
No, I have one other question kind of popped up when looking at everybody else talk, and it's more for council, less for waste management and Valley. Kind of given all of these are going to be price increases, no matter which option it's picked. Or if you read that or any of the options kind of floated tonight. Have we taken or can council communicate at least to the rest of the borough with what the implications would be to the budget, potentially to taxes and the millage rate from the borough? Because I think that's going to be a big deal, right? If the budget can make up for the increase other ways, that might sway folks vote to a more expensive option, given some of the sentiments we've heard around waste management tonight. Positive ones. That's all.
Thank you.
We can, yeah, you guys pay your own trash. So it has no effect on the budget. Because basically this is basically a pass through. You guys pay almost exactly what it costs, and these costs will be exactly what you pay.
Mr. Wilbur? Okay.
I'm Paul Rupert, live at 1 East Steuben Street. I've had a business in Crafton for 52 years. And over that period of years, I've punched up trash removal many times.
Yeah.
And we always went with the cheapest. I know someone's worried about the cheapest. I gotta put it this way, all trash companies have breakage on equipment. And in today's world, no show up of driving. So that creates a problem. So they're all on an even keel. Right, so on the trash cans, they have serial numbers on them, right? They're registered for each home. Is that?
Yes. I just got confirmation. I'm looking at waste management, yes.
So if one is taken, surely the one-man truck cannot see the number. He's not gonna have enough time to check all the numbers to see if it belongs that specific home. So that would be police offense if your trash can is taken.
I mean, if a trash can is stolen, that's. a
Yeah,
police
it's
offense.
stolen.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the homeowner is responsible to purchase another one if it's stolen.
Correct.
And what was the price again?
$65.
Okay. And one gentleman's, or somebody's mentioned raccoons. I have these somewhere else, and we have to put bungee cords on. Because yes, the raccoons can they tip them over. So it's not a raccoon, no matter how big it is, they can do it. Another question, one man vehicle. What would they do on the streets where there's cars parked?
Make it clear that the one-man vehicle is not an option here. That's fully automated. I was just discussing that is not here. We
Okay.
have semi-automated, which will always have 2 workers in the truck, and 1 worker is outside moving carts
So
into
they'll bring-
position.
They'll bring them out where the streets are tight and they, okay, very good.
Yep.
Rental properties. I believe Crafton has an ordinance, if you have under 8 units, you have to go with the borough trash removal. If you have 7 units, that means I have to have 7 separate cans. Is there any way we can get that changed? Where I have a choice of either commercial removal or the dumpster?
We could certainly look into that as a council, if that's the option.
If you would.
Yeah,
Okay,
we've had more than one question about that.
okay, and then somebody else mentioned about the bulk of a dumpster somewhere. Does Crafton have a dumpster now? Or
Not for bulk.
not?
No. We do once a year, we put out a public one for trash.
Yeah, 2, right?
Because you can think about a dumpster, well, a door to door down near the workhouse and that, where people are taking their items that they need to get. We're not sitting.
What would be your choice? Oh, go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so
You got about 30 seconds.
5-year contract versus a 3-year. Think about this, if you're locking in the price for 5 years, trash is gonna do nothing but go up. Question is, are you locking in, they can't hit us up with fuel charges if gas goes up? Because I've had that happen before when prices were rising and the trash people dumped the fuel charge over and above.
They are not permitted under the contract to make a fuel surcharge on the borough residents.
Yes, so, I'm for a 5-year contract because not gonna do nothing but go up. So we're locking in the price, as long as there's no stipulation that dump fees go up. And they can increase it, so you gotta watch, who's the lawyer? He was reading the fine.
I wrote the contract. They
Okay,
can't.
so there are 2 things.
That's your time. Mr. Wolf.
It's his brother. No, it's your brother. It's your brother. Yeah, he gave you the time. Mr. Wilbur, what's your vote? 1, okay. No. Anybody else? Okay. Joe, yeah, do we have somebody to raise their hand? No. On Zoom? Okay.
Hey, John, just one question.
Yeah, you have to come up, yeah. Come
You could follow up with my brother's comment about the apartments. Is that up to the borough or is that up to waste management to whether the number of apartments? Like our 7 unit that we can't build a dumpster, it's definitely cheaper to mount a dumpster on a 7-unit apartment than it is to buy 7 trash cans. So I mean, is that the borough? It is the borough, so that could be changed then.
That's what they built. So
Okay, I'm just asking, thank you.
Do you have a vote, Bob?
I got stock in waste management.
I will strike this comment. All right. Anybody else? Very good. Now, oh, yeah, you're coming back.
Oh, we were, so we have a waste management person here somewhere, somebody said, and a valley gentleman down the hallway. Why don't you give them each a couple minutes?
We are.
Okay.
Okay, so at this point, do we want to have them or?
I think we should have this first.
Okay,
And then answer the questions, and then if the council has more questions, they can ask.
okay. So we'll do waste management. You're right there. And she can come up, answer any of the questions.
Every question I could possibly think of has been asked.
My name's Joe Walker. I'm the district manager of Washington Hauling. I manage the site that services this community.
And I'm Terry Fisher, I'm the account manager for Crafton Borough.
There were a lot of comments, which is, is awesome to see, for sure. So I hope we get to any of or all of them. If there's any that we missed or we need to circle back to, we can circle.
Did you get close to question? So, but basically in a recap, the industry has changed. It is changing to go from the service that you know today, traditional service, to the cart limited service. One of the main reasons is safety. Our main concern is keeping our drivers safe. Once we turn a community over to carts, our injury rate goes way down. We're keeping our drivers safe. It's safer for everybody to use. It's also a challenge, as everybody knows, to find employees. But so we're trying to make it as worker friendly, as comfortable, as attractive to retain our drivers, to make sure that they go home safe every day. They go home to their families. So that is the main reason why we are going to the carts. So we do want to address some of your questions that you had. And we will get you a price for the second card. I do have the recycling card. I can get that to you tomorrow. I know the bulk service, people talked about the bulk service. With the card service, it is more than semi-automated. So with the semi-automated, we keep bulk to one time a month, so we could do the efficiencies for the carts. And with that, you can put 2 items out, but if you do have additional items, you can pay for those additional items. And when we're looking at the cart bulk service as well, we're looking at it to limit it, help keep your costs down as well. How you have it today, where you can put your bulk item every week, that goes into your pricing as well. So limiting it to one time a month, helps keep your costs down as well. And if somebody doesn't have extra, they can always pay for it. Look at other solutions. If they're doing a clean out, there's the bag store. So there's other options that you can use if you have a lot of extra material.
Real quick, on the bulk, there's some questions about timing and how you schedule it. If you select option 1, we would work out a bulk week with the borough. Works with both. It'd be like week 1, week 2, week 3, the first full week of the month, the second full week of the month. And you'd be on that same week every year. So we put out a calendar, you put on your website, so everyone knows when their bulk week is. So there's no need, there's no need to call in and schedule it. You just know, Crafton is on week 3 of every month.
And if we are awarded the contract, prior to the contract starting, every resident would get a trifold, and that trifold would be all the changes that are coming to the community. It would be information on your cart delivery, how to place your cart at the curb, how to put your material in the carts. We also would highlight our Household Harris's Waste at your door e-waste collection program, which is an unlimited program, so we can collect as many e-waste items. You can use it as many times as you want. There is no limit to the residents.
Real quick on the this is a lot of people use this program actually. So it's electronics and it's also chemicals. There's a lot of paint, battery stuff you're not allowed to put in the trash. That it's hard to get rid of. Sometimes a county will have a one time a year event we can collect. You have to wait in line for 4 hours to take some of your stuff. So it's full chemicals, paint, batteries, along with electronics. I know there was a concern about getting through and how you schedule that. That group is a completely separate call center. And actually you just give them your zip code or the town. So it doesn't matter if you are registered in our main database that we use for trash and recycling. As long as you're within the borough limits, they will recognize that the borough of Crafton has this program. Anybody who lives within the borough can use that program.
And then also on the trifold, you will get a calendar as well. With your calendar, it will show you your bulk week. It will show you your recycling weeks as well. So everything will be spelled out in the trifold that you get. And then also, with all our accounts, even though your contract is a municipal bill contract, every resident does have a routing account in our system. So a resident can go to wm.com and self-serve. So basically, if they want to order extra bulk, they just go to wm.com, type in their address, hit select, or hit select, click on the bulk button. And it's very easy. You just click, and then you pay for your extra items.
And that changed partway through this year, right?
Yeah.
Right, so that was
That's-
added,
that's-
so if people had experiences where they called Waste Management and they weren't on the account, that is now changed, so now everybody in the borough does have an account.
Exactly, and then, regarding the cart, so basically, if the wheel breaks on the cart, the lid breaks on the cart, we do repair and we do maintain the carts, we do own the carts. The best way to report, an issue with your cart, again, self-serve, go to wm.com, type in your address, click hit cart, and you just, click a button and say broken wheel, and a ticket is automatically generated. The same with the missed pickup. Unfortunately, if we do miss your service, we are here to take care of it for you. The best way to report that is, just again, wm.com, the ticket's automatically generated. We can come back out to collect that as well.
So just to be clear, we do take the full maintenance and replacement of those, not because they're stolen, but if they should break, wheel falls off. We have a separate repair group that repairs lids and wheels. If it's damaged beyond repair, we will replace it.
Another comment was made earlier too. So basically, when we do our cart deployment, we do partner with Cascade. So Cascade does come out with the team and they do deliver the cart. So every cart, this serial number on the cart is attached to your address. So we have we get a daily report and we also get a final report. So we know exactly what carts are assigned to each house and make sure every address has a cart. So let's say I have my cart, but Joe here thinks he's gonna steal my cart, so he takes my cart. Well, you know what, when our driver comes to Joe's house, Joe only has one cart on his account, so even though he stole my cart, he's not getting 2 carts of service. So he'll give me my cart back, because it's gonna take up his room. So basically, we've had a scenario where somebody stole a cart, we say, file police report, automatically that cart goes back. So if somebody takes it, we're not gonna service it if it's not on your account. So, so hopefully that addresses that.
Two questions I don't think we've answered yet. One was, I think you asked, can the lid, if the lid is slightly open?
Yeah, if the lid is slightly open, the drivers will take it. What we don't want is somebody to leave the lid open and then jingle their way, 10 feet above the can. We've seen it. What that does, it just creates a hazard, ends up making a mess everywhere. So, we ask that everything fits in the toter. If the lid is slightly ajar, the drivers will still take it.
And then the next question was, I think you kind of addressed it, but I just want to clarify it. Can they write on the cans? Like say property owned, or should they just be taking a picture of that serial number and that's their ID?
Yeah, serial number is the best way to go. If it's a water-based paint that will, come off. Like I said, we do retain the ownership of the ends. We prefer that they're not, permanently spray painted, or etched, but yeah, or tape with some medic marker or something like that. We don't mind cans as long as they can be cleaned up.
And I see hands up. Do we want to allow for, are we allowed for more comments
I
or?
think we have to keep it. where-
Maybe you guys can answer questions
Yeah.
if others have them out there.
Yeah. Thank you. For Valley Waste, would you like to come up?
Do you think?
There are some chairs up there. There's 2 chairs. I carried these all. So, there's 2. Please come up.
Hi, everybody. I've met any of you, I've met Jim, so I'm Douglas Williams, I'm the general manager at Valley Waste. I concur with everything they said. Regarding safety, all that, we didn't bid that because of the topography.
Can't hear you.
Plain and simple, okay?
Speak up.
So, yeah, we didn't bid because of topography. However, I'm fully confident we can come down here and give you guys great service. We're very local, Roslyn Farm, Thornberry, Pennsbury, Kennedy Township. And other parts of Allegheny County. So, I'm open to questions.
I don't know that, were there any questions that we haven't answered that were directed at Louise Bullard Valley?
It was, put in a, garbage can.
Oh, so I remember her question was around the cat litter. Little container, so does that count as one bag for that?
It's gonna get picked up, but yeah, it's probably considered one bag, but.
Yeah.
Well, no,
I
it's
would actually-
in the bin, 'cause-
We would actually prefer like sort of a 5 gallon one,
Yeah,
put the lid on.
it has the lid on.
And throw it.
Yeah, remember,
That's the easier way to do it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be harder for you to lift that up into a can or put it in a bag than it is for you to set it on the ground.
Yeah.
That's all.
Valley does not have the carts, so remember Valley is you put them in your own trash. Yeah,
Well, then that's still a problem with it.
so
I'm telling you that specific thing of cat litter with the lid does not have to use that.
Is that kind of against her, 200 pounds? I mean, and that's okay.
We don't want, like,
You don't go down with the scale, right?
I've
I've had Valley before and I've never had a problem.
trust you and I'll concur that our drivers or helpers are not out there with a scale or, you know.
So-
weighing.
Let me clarify something.
okay, wait, we have to, yeah, this isn't the Q&A, so please speak to Valley and Waste outside so that we can move on. I apologize, but we have to keep it. Yeah,
Things.
that's it. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
So now is the time for our council to have any discussion or thoughts on either we've heard or questions.
I'll start. I appreciate all the feedback. I think every question that I was percolating on was asked and it's in a way answered. The only thing I would think for us to think through, I do like the comment, or not like the comment, I like the concern for finding possibly an alternative. If we would go with waste management, a smaller option for people who can't move bins that big. I don't know what, I don't want to say flexibility or wiggle room we have, because I know, like you said, like this is locked in as is I'd be curious to see what we could do with something along those lines. And then I do agree with all the comments about the trash cans, even though my wheels on mine are currently broken, so goodbye to that. But I wonder if we go into this waste management route and they are providing cans and people do have cans that they don't need now, I wrote down like trash can buyback. Like, is there something we can come up with that like could, like a bulk day that would be for these cans? Or are there, just trying to think through that when everyone's like, how are we going to dispose of potentially 4 trash cans? So those are my 2 comments. Is that, yep.
Yeah.
No, I'm just gonna say, sorry, I know in other communities that I've dealt with that you've taken cans. So when there's a transition, you don't want a can, you just say, take my can or something right on it, and leave it at the curb and then they'll take it.
Yeah,
They will
they're
not
like
count against
$100
you.
though.
What?
They're like $100 a piece though, the ones that we bought ourselves. Who's gonna give us money for that?
Nobody. If you don't want it, they'll take it.
Yeah,
She said she already paid.
yeah,
I paid for my own,
I
is what I'm
understand.
saying.
yeah,
Now I have to get rid of them for this.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, I was gonna say,
That's a free.
just for
I
me.
need more than one, is what I'm saying.
Oh, well, I was gonna say, just for me in this instance, my cans are literally garbage. So if someone has a quality can that isn't that expensive of an item and they don't know how to get rid of it, I'd just be curious if that is something we could work through. That's all.
And they typically do, right, Terry, when you guys switch to this, if people do want to dispose of their current thing, they can just leave it out that first day.
Right, and so basically, when the carts are deployed, there's a transition period, so the first day you get your cart, you're not gonna be cart limited that particular day, we're gonna work with you, get everybody adjusted to it. But so during the first week, if you wanna get rid of your existing trash cans, you just put take as trash on it, put it at the curb and we'll take it.
They're just literally put in a landfill? I mean, they're plastic, can't they be recycled?
Well, the borough can look at recycling them, I just have to, talk to my manager of the recycling facility, make sure I can take them, which I have been able to for other communities. But if you wanted to recycle, all the trash cans, you can get a roll-off container, you would still have to pay for the haul. But we could take it to our recycling facility on Neville Island, but all the wheels, all the metal have to be removed from the containers. But we could recycle the plastic, but I would just have to get approval on that.
Make it Tom first.
Council, this is,
Yes.
wait, please, public. This is the council discussion time, so I appreciate it. Council?
I'll go.
Yeah, sure.
Waste management indicated that, the semi-automated and switching to the really big parts is largely about safety focus for their workers and things, and I get that, I understand. But then there's also safety focused for your customers and your residents. I want to know, what is the dry weight of one of those bins? Do you know? And do you know the dimensions of it, the exact ones? Because I've got a tape measure. Oh, thank you. Should I read it?
Please do.
The dry weight is 20.95 pounds, which I'm actually surprised by. I would assume more. Dimensions, it's 37.5 inches high, 19 inches wide, and 23 3/4 inches deep. Wait, that's the 35 gallon? I got the wrong one. I was gonna say, that doesn't seem right to me.
What I said, small one?
Yeah.
You know what? I thought I had 3 of these.
It's all good. No worries.
64 and 30.
Hey, rewind a little bit. Correction,
No, it was 35.
96 gallon universal card, 37.25 pounds dry. It's 46 inches high, 26 inches wide, and 34 inches deep. With that in mind too, the size of it, I get the safety for the workers, like I said, but safety for the residents, I'm concerned about as well, and I'm also concerned that if somebody requests the smaller cart, do they pay the same price that the rest of us do? Because I mean, if we're paying by volume at this point, I've got issues there with discrimination. So can we put that question in the waste management? Is there, when you get a smaller when you get a smaller cart, is there any option to get 2 carts as opposed to 1? Or, yeah, especially if the reason is because the larger cart person cannot physically move the larger cart. They need to handle the smaller cart.
I think for clarity is, what happens with the smaller car? If everybody can please be quiet, what happens with the smaller cart? Is it a request? And then if they requested to, they did get 2 carts, or they just get a smaller instead of a bigger?
I mean, we can address those concerns. We've done it with other communities. I'll give you a prime example. We recently bid the North Hills Cog, which includes very tight communities like Edinburgh, Neilville, Sharpsburg. They're row houses. And in that contract as well, we were supposed to deploy 96 gallon carts to everybody, but they had certain sections. Those people who live in those row houses, they have no access to take their carts around the street. They have to bring them through their homes. So the problem there was the 96 gallon cart wouldn't fit in their hallways. So in those communities, we did give 2 smaller carts, instead of one big cart. So we could, I understand what the bid specifications say, but we can get together and address a couple of concerns. Take care of this matter before we sign the contract. Before we launch the contract.
Okay, so it sounds like that is something that we would need to address, because it doesn't sound like it's a resident request. It's more of a physical topography versus a resident. So if there's an elderly person at the end of this street and somebody else over here and one over here, that wouldn't be the case, where they can request a smaller cart.
Well, I would like to follow up on that with them, afterwards.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're open to some discussion about what the options would be. So I think that is worth discussing further, not necessarily right now, but sitting down with them in a follow-up and discussing what the options might be and what we could put together for a criteria around how that might work, or a request process, or how, see what's feasible. I agree that that's a concern. Yeah.
Yes.
I have one other question for Valley, actually. I don't know where he is. Yeah, hi, yeah, sorry, Waste Management had indicated some communication to residents about a trifold and about the change.
Yeah, we would send a welcome packet
Okay,
with us, all the same information regarding what we do.
Okay.
And what information to residents, to everyone.
great, thank you.
Council, any other questions or comments?
I have, sorry, I'm going to, Jim, you had laid out the 5-year contract plan and then the option year increases. Can I share that just for reference? So that
Yeah,
way
it should be,
it's
yeah.
still there.
Yep.
So on this one, it looks like the way you calculate it here is for a 5-year option.
well, these are the same for any option you choose. So if we choose to go with, let's say, Waste Management 3-year, the first 3 years are the regular years, and then the option years are the same. So 2028, 2029, and option year 1 would be the 3 option.
Got it.
And the
Okay,
prices are the same.
that's what I wanted to make sure of. Thank you.
And for clarity on this, we actually, with our current contract, we did 5 years, then 5 option years. And the pricing was very good, as you know, what we're paying now. If we look at this 10 years from now is 2034, the pricing is around 300, and it looks like at least for Waste Management, it doubles to 600 within 10 years. And the other one is maybe $100 or $200 for Valley Waste. So those are options from 6 to 10, but if we go out to bid again, you have the risk of all new pricing. And that's a tough decision, obviously. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I have a question. This has come up a lot, the, idea of having to buy new cans. I think we clarified a few times, if we do the waste management option, we don't have to buy a new can, they are provided. Unless you would like to buy additional cans, but that first can is provided. But trying to sort through all the notes I took, you pay a subscription, but we don't own the can either way, so we are paying for the subscription rather than ownership. Yeah. Now I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
Sorry, I'll come back to it. I lost my train of thought there.
And something to think about as we go too is if we go to Waste Management, we will have these cans here. If we rebid in X number of years to another company that doesn't, all those cans go away and everybody has to buy trash cans.
Okay, this is my question. So if we go that
Yeah,
route,
or
then
another.
everyone will have to transition in a short period to, and this is a question for Waste Management, everyone will have to transition to new cans that are provided by Waste Management. How does that process work? I would imagine that may take a little time and that some residents may not be aware immediately that it's happening. Do they just get dropped off? Can you tell us a bit how that process works to roll out the new cans?
So, to start, education would start going out well before, the carts would be deployed. So residents would start getting notifications, we could help the municipality with, website content, as well as sending stuff out, right? The way it works is we would we work with our vendor, on when they can be manufactured and they actually deliver them all. We would work with municipality on a, usually it's like a week that we would deliver. A key this size would probably be done in a week or two, max. So then we can start letting residents know like, hey, it's coming this week, right? Additionally, all the carts come with a, information on them as well. We do give time to adjust. So we usually create a bunch of, we call them toter tags. And the drivers have them with them. So we might do 2 or 3 weeks of tag with take, right? So it's what we'll take whatever you have out, within reason, but the drivers will tag it, say as a courtesy, we took everything, but in the future, we're not going to. I don't like to put a timeline on that. We'd like it to take 2 or 3 weeks, but if a vast majority of residents aren't complying, we're not just gonna cut off and leave trash in the streets, right? eventually we get to the point where we're going to tag but leave. We have a different tag that says, you know, we're leaving everything, this time everything must be in the toter. If you need an extra toter, call this number. That's usually our kind of our cadence of how the deployment goes. It is a long drawn out process just to make sure everyone's ready for it.
Any other questions or from council or discussion? So here's what I'd like to suggest is that we've heard a lot of information tonight. We have a lot of other agenda items too. But absorbing everything, you know, I'd encourage, you know, the public to, you know, if you want to reach out to us, whatever you want to do via email, you can, please, waste management, please. Okay. If you can, reach out and we'll continue. We're not going to make a decision tonight. I don't think it's the right time. I think we need to gather some more information. The questions that we have, we want to put out to the public on Savvy Citizen to get some clarity on some of those answers. And this is an important decision, so we're probably going to be discussing it at the next meeting and potentially, you know, looking for more comments too, because it is an important decision. So I thank you all. This is really good, and I encourage you to read all the materials, and it will be a change. But the good news is that the increases, at least for whatever we choose, are lower than we expected.
Will there definitively be a meeting that has second comments before a vote will be taken?
Well, we'll have our next meeting. So our next meeting is actually in 3 weeks. So I'm doing the agenda with Jim, so I'll add.
There's a public comment period at the beginning. If
No
there's
matter
a
what.
motion to
Yeah.
award a contract,
Yeah.
you can speak at the beginning of it.
Yeah. Katie, we did answer your questions. I don't know if you heard them.
Sorry.
We did answer the questions you had. I don't know if you heard them.
I didn't.
I know, you left, didn't we? Okay. We'll grab the later. Okay. So we're gonna move on. Next is the zoning ordinance update. Okay.
Yep. All right. Zoning update. So, just gotta give a brief, update on zoning codes are established essentially to protect public health and safety. That's why they originally established. Zoning codes allow the borough to regulate uses, and buildings allowed on private property. As such, careful consideration is given to balance the public health while respecting private property rights. Zoning codes create zoning districts, and within zoning codes, there are rules for each district. Crafton's new zoning code simplifies, renames our current 9 districts down to 7. The boundaries of these residential and commercial districts have not changed substantially. In fact, most people wouldn't notice it. Rather, the regulations applied within each district have been refined. So this started in 2022. In 2022, Crafton received funding from DCED to complete a zoning overhaul of our current zoning. Overhauling zoning is very common after a comprehensive plan, which the borough did do in 2017. Taking those findings and updating your zoning to match these findings is a very important step. So after getting the funding, we put out an RFP, hired ZoneCo, which is our consultant. After getting the funding from DCD, Crafton put out an RFP. We hired ZoneCo, and we, in collaboration with Ingram Borough, and they created the first thing they did was create a diagnostic report and found that our code was overly wordy, confusing, and the intent in a number of sections was very difficult to discern. So that diagnostic report looked at the goals of the comprehensive plan, which were broken down into several parts: deteriorating properties, which the borough is now actively working on several things to fix that. We're looking at rental inspections. We're taking one of the properties through conservatorship, and we're also looking at joining a land bank. Commercial development was a big part of the diagnostic report, and they had the recommendation of creating a new zoning ordinance as part of that. A main part of that was improving the Crafton Ingram shopping district and creating branding and placemaking. And then connectivity and walkability was a big part of that plan as well, to provide safe and convenient walking routes, to connect community assets, improve wayfinding or signage in the borough, and work on parks and trails. And so all of those things were taken into account when we started to create the zoning ordinance. So the first thing that was set up, we had a steering committee set up for the zoning ordinance. which was made up of council members, business owners, and residents. And they had their first public engagement at the end of 2022, prior to me being hired, so I was not a part of that. The next public engagement was in April of 2023 in the park, where we had the consultants share the first drafts of the maps and the district descriptions. Then the steering committee and the planning commission spent much of the rest of the year, last year, working on the calibration tables, which essentially take the tables that are in the current zoning code and look at how they compare to a new possible zoning code. And so that all led to a public engagement session in February, where we discussed the use tables that the steering committee and planning commission had advised on. Everybody in the borough received a postcard about that engagement. We had more than 80 people at that engagement, so thank you very much. I know a number of you that are here today were at that engagement as well. The consultants took the information gleaned from that engagement and drafted the code. The steering committee and planning commission have made several edits to the code, and what you've seen on the website is the current draft code. And so I'm going to bring up a couple of items that have been discussed and that I know are concerns to residents. So the first is conversion apartments. The borough is not proposing an increase to conversion apartments. Conversion apartments are houses that have been broken up into individual units. And under the current code, which was the 2004 code, conversion apartments are permitted by conditional use, which means they have to come to council for approval. For the C2 district, which is in the new code is considered the CTOD district, which is a transit oriented district, since we have the busway going right through the middle of the district. And they were also allowed in the R2 district via conditional use. So we have changed that. They are no longer permitted in the R2 district according to the new code. And so this means that an out-of-state developer could not buy a house in the R2 district, break it up into apartments and rent them based on the draft code. Under the proposed zoning code, conversion apartments by the definition have been removed from the R2 district, as I mentioned. And that the new zoning code, the proposed one, also matches the 2004 code for the CTOD. So we are continuing to allow them in the CTOD district, which is just this district here in the central business district. The conversion apartments that are permitted in the NR and CR are limited to only institutional buildings, meaning that if a church goes bankrupt or quits operating, that church could be converted into apartments. And that way we don't have to pay for demolishing that building, such as I know we have a large church on Belvedere that is not very often used, and that could be converted into apartments by what's drafted in the proposed code. This means that no houses are permitted to be converted into apartments in any residential neighborhood of Grafton. So in that sense, the proposed code is more restrictive than the current code on conversion apartments. Accessory dwelling units is also a big issue that's been discussed ad nauseum by the steering committee, I would argue. The accessory dwelling units are defined as essentially, and there have been mixed definitions. So the correct definition is accessory dwelling units are defined as a single unit on the same lot as an existing residential structure, which provides complete living facilities for no more than one family, including permanent provisions for living, sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation. By this definition, there are already several ADUs in the borough. In the proposed code, they are conditional use, which requires council approval before anybody allows one to be built. They are required to be owner occupied on the property, so no outside developer can do it. It has to be, if you own a property and you want to put one on your property, you can do it. And if you sell that property, you no longer can have an ADU. Only one ADU is permitted on a lot, and they are not permitted within the primary residence. The maximum size of the unit is 800 square feet, and the max height is the same as all accessories in a given district. So that's accessory dwelling units as are proposed. And planning commission did remove that section, but council has not yet decided to remove it. And in the final vote, planning commission could decide to put it back in if they so desire. Airbnbs are the other one that has come up quite a bit. Short-term rentals were not around, obviously, when the last code was written in 2004. So they're not currently regulated by the code. But we do not permit full house rentals in any residential district. And they're only permitted in the two commercial districts, like the central business district. As a matter of fact, we have an Airbnb right across the street that's often rented and doesn't cause any issues because there's no residential building right there. But in the residential districts, short-term rentals, will be considered conditional use. So we will allow some types of Airbnbs, but let me clarify this. They are limited to owner occupied residents, so no developer can come in and buy a property and make a Airbnb. You have to live on that residence, so this is your personal residence, and you're only allowed to rent the property 25% of the year. So this prevents developers from buying houses in Grafton and using them as rentals. But it allows a teacher on a summer break to go away and rent their apartment or rent their house while they're gone. Or a snowbird who spends the winter somewhere, they can rent their house while they're gone, as long as it's limited to 6 guests, and they can't do it for more than 25% of the year. And so the proposed code permits short-term rentals in both commercial districts, as I mentioned. So with that, that's my update on the code. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Kirsten, but with that, this is the first, and just to underscore the process too, this is the first time that the council has taken a full look at it. This has all been through steering committee and planning commission up to this time, and the draft that is moved to them, this is the first time council is reviewing it. After council has decided that it's comfortable with where it's at, then it goes, the planning commission has to send it to us approved, so that has to be done. If council approves it tonight, they can have planning commission do that next week. Planning commission meets on Tuesday next week. And then after that, planning commission approves it, then there's a county 45-day review process. So we have to send it into Allegheny County for their review. If they send it back and there's significant changes that they recommend, or council has decided that they want to change something, then council can vote on it again, decide that they want to move it forward and send it back and it has to go, if there's significant changes, they have to go back to the county for another 45-day review. If not, then council can decide to approve it after that 45-day review.
Yeah, just at the last meeting, there would be a public hearing that would be well advertised before vote on final zoning ordinance, where just like tonight, you can come and make whatever comments you want. But there will be several opportunities between now and then, and I think councils will hear to listen to your input so they can make decisions on some of these items. So plenty of opportunity to have public input between now and any kind of vote, which probably at best would happen by the end of the year at best.
And the full code is on the website right now. So anybody wants to go look at the full draft code, you can absolutely. I didn't want to print out 50 copies of the whole thing.
It's
having trouble sleeping.
Yeah. And also just to mention, this started in 2021 is when this process started. So it was way even before this council was together is when the process started, the steering committee, and it also goes through the planning commission, which does have a meeting next Tuesday, a public meeting to discuss this at landfill. So
I could just clarify for any, fact checking sticklers, it actually started in 2019. And then was put on pause because of staff changes in the borough and COVID and et cetera. So, for any fact checkers, we did actually start the RFP process in 2019. But we did not pick it up again and formally move forward. We actually put out for rebid again. So the process we're going through now is restarted and formally launched in 2021. But that was a continuation of something that started in 2019.
So what we're going to do for this is we'll go through the list that people signed in. We'll also go through the Zoom list and then raise your hand if you have questions and you want to make a comment. Same as we did for the waste. So hopefully I'll have everybody's comments on here and you just didn't sign in for. The first one is James. Yeah.
Hi, guys. James Mangan, 960. Just a clarification, with regards to ADUs, is that you do have to be the owner on that property to build one. But once you sell it, let's just say you sell it to a person that they can rent out both still. Or if you want to sell it to like an LLC, that person can rent out both still. So that's a pretty big change there. That can really affect how Grafton looks, functions with regards to.
It's not correct.
Now
we learned
multiple times.
Yeah, but we learned since that is not correct. We can actually,
Last meeting.
we can, I don't think we discussed it at the last meeting, but we are allowed to,
We did. We covered this at the last steering committee meeting.
That was not like, verified.
You did not.
It wasn't covered.
yeah, I didn't think it was discussed at all.
Scott, you said.
Yeah.
Verified now.
Yeah, but verify it.
That's.
We did think that for a long time. We found out probably about 2 months ago that we were able, that code does allow us to prevent the next generation from continuing it as an ADU.
When was that discovered?
Probably 2 months ago.
Oh, yeah. Let's wait.
Yeah.
So we're confusing already. So
Yeah.
James, why don't you say what you want to say and then.
I would
we'll-
say to move forward without ADUs in the zoning code. Clearly, there's a lot of, wiggle room gray area, and sitting on that, steering committee, I was not aware of what they just said. That's brand new to me. So, I've been to every meeting. We've discussed this ad nauseum. We talked about it, This is the first time I've heard, correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, first time I heard, but then that's.
Greg, you can't talk.
So.
During this time.
I would say press forward without the ADUs, but once again, it seems like we're missing a lot of things here. And I wouldn't recommend anything that we're not fully aware of exactly what it does for traffic. I would say any decision that we're not exactly aware of what it's going to mean for us, is probably not the best decision. If we're gonna revisit it down the road, we can certainly do that. We can do it a bit more responsibly, maybe see how other people are doing it, but for right now, I would say hold off, no ADUs, and then consider the code.
So at the end, you could say like, are you okay with the rest of the zoning proposal? So James, are you okay with all the rest of it? So for everybody, are you okay with everything else?
I would say about. Hi, James Megan, I was a member of the zoning steering committee for the last 2.5 years.
Okay.
Great, so next, Michael, what?
I wouldn't ask people to sign off on the rest. That's a huge question.
Okay.
I didn't know if they volunteer it, but I think that's an odd question to put out.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't hear him talk to tell her, what she said, what was that?
President Oliveria had suggested that people give at the end of their comments a response as to whether they approve the rest of the code or not. I suggested that you're welcome to do that if you like, but that's a fairly big question. I don't think we should be asking you all to say yes or no unless you want to.
It wasn't approved, but it was.
Michael Trask, 126 East Steuben. First, mine's related to the map. I just noticed this yesterday when I was looking at the conservancy zone. My house and my neighbor's house fall in the conservancy zone. I don't know if you can pull up the map. On 126 East Steuben, so it's all the way at the very top of the map. So I'm in a conservancy zone, which I don't know. I think that is my lot, and my neighbor's lot. He has 3. Probably need to be recolor coded into as residential instead of part of the conservancy zone. Because then, as I started to then go down and look at, there's all kind of special things related to being in a conservancy zone versus being in the next. I get that because the rest of that orange section is basically all hillside and no other part of that zone has a house on it. But like I said, my house and my neighbor's house are the only 2 areas in that orange area that have houses. So I would like to look at. As for 2 things for the one, we'll basically go through the Airbnb house rentals. It says in the questions only in the 2 commercial districts. In residential districts, short-term rentals are allowed for 25% of the year. Is that all at one time, or did you reference like someone like being a school teacher or a school teacher, or is it a total of 25% of rental throughout the whole year?
It's that.
Okay. And then you also mentioned about household being in the commercial district, so I guess it's kind of I guess an answer to the question. If you are in a residential, you can have up to 25%, but if you happen to have your house is in the commercial district, you can do it all year long, it doesn't matter, so. With the high taxes we pay, I mean, I know how much I pay for my property, it's pretty high. Why am I being penalized, because I'm in a residential unit, I'm not an owner occupied house? Why do I not have benefit of maybe, you know, renting my house up to 50% of the time, if I'm just an owner occupied house and earning that extra income to offset other expenses I have?
Right, so we don't have to answer, but I think the question, and I'm writing all this down, is why is it 25? Why is it 25? Okay.
Why do I not have an opportunity to make
To
a
do more,
little extra? And I did not read the whole 80 pages.
160.
Get away.
So, yeah. All right, thank you. Next is Sandy Morris.
Hi, Sandy Moore, 1781 Moore Avenue, and my remarks are about the zoning ordinance. I'm concerned about the comments, some of the comments that were made during the August 8th council meeting. Specifically, Ms. Compatello's reasons for why the planning commission submitted the ordinance absent ADUs. She stated there's no description or reasoning why the planning commission removed the ADU section, and said that maybe the planning commission doesn't understand it, or debated it long enough to a point that they discussed it out. I was at that meeting and the commission understands it, and they listened to the citizens that were there. The citizens opposed the ADUs with valid reasons, such as there's no additional parking requirement, which is gonna clog our streets and alleys. There's supposedly no owner occupied requirement after the initial owner, but we just heard that is untrue. But our property values are going to decrease if we have an ADU rental property that's going to be within 5 feet of our property line. And for many residents, our homes are our greatest asset and shouldn't be devalued by neighboring properties with ADUs. And ADUs will increase rental property in our community. I'm not opposed to rental property, but we already have a good balance between homeowners and renters. As of the 2020 census, Grafton has 41% rental units. This is higher than most neighboring communities and 15% higher than Allegheny County's rate of 35%. That being said, many of the same concerns were expressed at the February engagement meeting. What's the purpose of a planning commission when asking for public input? Council isn't going to listen and just going to do whatever they want. It appears that Ms. Compatello is driving force and rezoning with an emphasis on additional rental property and making Grafton an urban community. This begs the question, is her profession as an urban planner influencing the zoning process towards urbanizing Grafton? This is not what the citizens expected when we bought homes here. I fully understand the zoning ordinance is not up for a vote this evening, however, it's having this discussion. I urge our council members to stand up for our citizens and do what's best for our communities. Please do not move forward until the citizens' concerns have been thoroughly reviewed and addressed, including remove the ADU section. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Linda Wozniak. Oh, at least I skipped.
Hi, I'm Linda Wozniak, 1773 Bar Avenue. Good evening. We moved to Grafton 43 years ago because of its charm, its safe environment, and its clean neighborhood. Over these 43 years, we have found all of these things to be true. We raised our 3 children here. I can recall being able to see them playing outside with limited obstructions and open backyards. Our neighbors are tremendous and are always there for an impromptu conversation or to lend a hand. Today, Grafton is truly that neighborly neighborhood. New zoning ordinance provisions are designed to change all of these things that make our residential neighborhoods neighborly. With the addition of small apartments built in backyards or townhouses strung along multiple lots, the friendliness and safety of these I'm sorry, pardon me. The friendliness and safety of this unobstructed view will be lost. Neighbors will become isolated by these buildings and noise and parking complaints will most certainly increase. Public safety will be compromised in many ways, as these additional structures will provide even more areas for wrongdoers to hide. Just this summer, cars were ransacked in our neighborhoods, and would-be thieves were able to run between the houses to avoid being seen by police. Having additional hiding spaces will further hinder our police officers' ability to effectively protect us and our property.
Jesus Christ.
It's really nice that the
Would you
mayor's
like to
funding.
include that?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Many of our properties are serviced by alleys where emergency vehicles can gain access and garbage collection occurs. These alleyways also have a history of providing a safe play area for our neighboring children. Unfortunately, the addition of the backyard apartments will necessitate ADU occupant parking in the alleys, as the alleys will be the closest place for those individuals to park. Parking in the alleys will happen and will happen often. Part will clog alleys, preventing access to private garages and clear rights of ways for service and emergency vehicles. Our police will again be burdened with parking enforcement, taking time away from public safety issues. The list of cons of allowing ADUs and townhouses is much more extensive, however, with only 3 minutes to speak. I'll end urging this council to say no to ADUs and townhouses in our residential neighborhood.
Thank you, Ms. Bosniak. Ms. Smith.
Then I didn't actually write that. Somebody else wrote it and I put an error that it was theirs, not mine.
Oh, no.
I wanted to talk about garbage.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. Let's see, Steve Crescent.
Steve Crescenzo, 79 Duncan. In general, my concerns are much the same as we heard here regarding the ADUs. I am currently located in a CR zone neighborhood, and with the changes that are proposed, the ADUs, as well as the dwelling conversion, based on the draft, the way that I read it anyway, it does appear that there is conditional approval for the dwelling conversion within that particular project.
Only for institutional buildings. If you read the conditions, the conditions list that they're only for institutional buildings.
Regardless of the ADUs and some of the changes that are also listed in the draft. Our concern is that our property is going to be revalued, which, like the other residents here, it is our biggest investment. It is what we put our life savings into. We've invested not only a large amount of finances, but a very large amount of time in cleaning up that property and making it our home and beautifying it honestly for the community. So with the wholesale accepting of this draft, I think it would be reckless for Clapton to proceed the draft as it is. I think we need a lot more clarification on a lot of the concerns that we do have on this draft. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cody Sheep, Promenade Street. Think that the proof is always in the pudding and the dirty laundry always gets cleaned up and washed. So I have filed a Freedom of Information Act request regarding this issue and many others for all of your emails, including yours. And I have a copy of the Freedom of Information Act request for all of you. And if it's okay, I'd like to hand it to all of you. Just want to remind you that you work for us. We don't work for you.
It's it has to be.
That's for you too, Mayor.
It has been. It has been.
To the open records office.
It's been delivered to the office.
Did you get this one?
It's been sent to you.
This isn't on the borough form.
Yeah.
You'll have to put it on the first.
I'm sorry?
You have to put it on the first. Oh, this is. So send it back.
Understood.
So. It's about.
Thank you.
I need for this with you. Steve?
I believe with Mr. Price, he lives on the records officer.
Barbara Bayer. Yeah.
Barbie, so that was my husband, 79 Duncan, so you probably already spoke for both of us. The only thing I wanted to clarify is, if you know where we live on 79 Duncan, Glen Avenue has a huge open space, I think it's owned by like an LLC. Dave, is it an LLC? Is that up for discussion for building of apartments or low income or transient housing, or is that off the table? Is that an option? I didn't.
There are two vacant lots at the end of the street.
So the question is.
Is there a conversation about building there?
I don't know any of the answers to that, but we can take that information again, put it out.
Yeah.
The borough is not building anything. The borough is not building anything.
I understand that, I understand the borough is not, but is it possible that someone can then come in and build additional apartments or houses back in that? Because right now it's just, it's empty, and we already are in a high rental area.
We might need to know the address, because I'm looking at, it looks like it could be in either
It's on
residential.
the Maxwell
district.
Street.
Just not
Yeah,
sure
no,
which.
it's
Okay,
there.
so it's in the,
Yeah.
okay. So it's in the community residential district.
Mhm.
So anything that would be, we'd have to look at what is allowed in the community residential district.
Yeah.
That would apply for that lot.
Yeah.
Because it's a ton of rentals already. When we bought this house, we had no idea that there would be a possibility of even additional rental units to be built.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. David Super.
My neighbors have spoke out for me. I'm from 61 Duncan Avenue, and they addressed all the concerns that I have.
Okay.
My property on Duncan Avenue is, our big investment. We've been there 34 years. We've seen the neighborhood change drastically. We used to have more families there. We have more rental property now, and the single family homes have decreased in the area. And we would like for it to stay where it is right now.
Okay. Is it G Stewart?
I signed in. I did have a
Oh.
question though. So if you do build on that lot, how many stories or like, how far would it then go?
Yeah.
We just got this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
We'll have to look.
We'll have to let you know. And you're referring to Maxwell?
Just like if you build a building, it's all units like. You know, like. That was all matters.
Okay. And let's see. Think, oh, no, Justin.
Hey, I'm Justin Marks, 31 Oregon. My question is similar to one of the earlier comments about like some of the changes of the certain districts, right? There's a pretty clear translation between, the old R1 and the R district in the new draft, and then R2 in the CR district. And it looks like the CR district has expanded, at least in a couple of different spots in the neighborhood. And I'm up on Oregon and it looks like R2 today covers, the whole block between Union and Noble, and then the west half of Noble as well, but then it stops at Oregon. And it looks like with the new draft, it has extended that in that area. It also looks like it extended from the R2, area enclosed by Belvedere, Broadhead, and Crafton Boulevard. And I guess I'm just curious if we could get some clarification from steering committee, planning, whoever it needs to be, on why they expanded and what the intention would be, because it sounds like a lot of folks here are concerned about some of the uses in CR, conversions, ADUs, et cetera. So I think kind of understanding the intention of expanding some of those areas or changes in Conservancy District, for example, and what the intention was. That's it.
All right,
I can start. I know that the discussion about the districts happened earlier on in the process, and that was something that was finessed and refined repeatedly throughout. But we're also, this is all still draft, so we can take comments if there are changes that need to be made. What we did with the residential districts, because Crafton has 2 residential districts now, R1, R2, we kept them. We gave them names, community and neighborhood, because that is easier to understand than numbers, but otherwise essentially kept them. But then we did go through and look kind of area by area to see if there were discrepancies where what is currently built was perhaps not in alignment with those districts. And we made some adjustments there. We were thinking, when you change zoning, you don't change if something is there now, it does not have to be changed. But longer term, if it were to be redeveloped or if it were to burn down, we're thinking about what could go back. And for the most part, the changes that were made to expand R2 were because it was an area that was by R2 already, now the community residential, and an area that already had multifamily or townhouses or something of that nature on it. There were a few places where we moved things from R2 into R1, which is now neighborhood residential, because even though they may have multifamily buildings already on them, they are hilly or sloped or hard to get to and would not be ideal sites or are in the middle of an R1 district, and it would be ideal for that to be more of that R1 neighborhood residential in the future. Those are the only changes that were made, and they were all very minor. I think we made, minor boundary changes, but.
Wait, yeah.
But that was the rationale, that was the reasoning, and this is draft, and so. All of those can be changed if we have comments or reasons to change them.
And we can, to help everybody with that, we can put out, someone had asked this, I don't remember. We can put out a map where you can see where the differences happen. So it's very clear that if you're moving from one district to another, that it'll be, and then we can take comment on that. So we can put that in that, we can create that map.
So it would be a color-coded map, which would show the areas that were changed and from the current code. Okay. So what I want to do is.
Yeah, let's make that, that's a good
I just want to
point.
make one point, I just was asking the manager, if your property is in a different zoning district. Right, so it's in one zoning district and goes on, somebody was talking about the conservation. Conservancy.
Yep.
So you do not have to alter your property in any way to comply with the provisions of the new zoning district that you're in. You are considered grandfathered. You're a non-conforming structure or use in that district. Moving forward, if your property would burn down or you need to tear it down or something like that, then those rules may not apply moving forward. But you don't have to take any affirmative steps to do anything to your property if you're moving zoning districts. You can continue to keep your property exactly the way it is. I just want to make sure everybody understood that.
Yeah,
But what if you sell?
Well, wait,
It's still, if you sell, it stays the same unless there are major changes to the ordinance. So if you look in the ordinance, there are provisions about non-conforming uses, non-conforming structures. That explains to you when the new zoning regulations would apply to your property. It does not apply to your property just because you sell it. So if it's a vacant piece of property, like you said, the hillsides behind you, right? So if somebody wanted to build something on those hillsides now, they would have to comply with the Conservancy District. But because you already live there, you have structure, you don't have to make any changes at all. Or if you sell it to somebody in 20 years, if they're gonna move into your house and not make extensive changes, I don't know exactly what the ordinance says. That they don't have to do anything different to the home either.
Right, but.
so, wait, here's what we're gonna do, just similar to the garbage contract. We want to do the Zoom folks first, then we'll come back and you guys can raise your hand.
I'm on the list.
I don't think it had,
Fifth from the top.
yours was crossed out.
No, that's people crossed out above me, that's not through my name.
Oh, okay, good. It is, somebody crossed you out.
Yeah, that's why you want to call it.
I don't think someone crossed, yeah, I put those crossed were in there when I put my name in there, they don't, so all we do is block.
Yeah. Well, regardless, go.
Anyway, my name's Greg Wozniak, 1773 Bar Avenue. I came to speak, I'm on the, planning, I was on the steering committee. And, I can bring up my notes here, so I'm just gonna be on my notes, but, anyway, some of what I've said, what I'm gonna say has been said. I just want to give some clarification to everybody in this room, how this process has been going. And, I'm gonna start reading. At the last council meeting, Kirsten Competella implied that the planning commissions hastened their motion regarding the zoning ordinance. Ms. Competella said they just did not understand it or got to the point where they discussed it out. I was at that planning commission, as were other citizens. And these comments by Mrs. Competella, who was not at the meeting, are not correct. The truth is the planning commission engaged in good discussions with our development director and community members. Several good points were discussed before their vote was taken. Ms. Competella's comments are dismissive and disrespectful of the time and effort given by the planning commission on this issue. The planning commission's intended document after their vote was to proceed absent the section on ADUs. This is not the document presented here tonight. The document has been altered to include the allowance of ADUs in our borough. I sit on the zoning steering committee, and from the very beginning, the public has had less than favorable opinion on allowing ADUs and townhouses to be built in our residential neighborhoods. In April of 2023, Zonco, the consultant hired by the borough to help draft the new ordinance, conduct a community engagement event in the park. Zonco reported that ADUs are seen negatively. Residents want to maintain the crafted residential districts without change, and that there are concerns about adding density to the existing residential districts. Another survey taken later again resulted in less than favorable public opinion towards building townhouses in Crafton. Despite this pushback by the public, Ms. Competella and our borough manager, Jim Price, insist that ADUs in townhouses be included in the new zoning ordinance. They continue to ignore the planning commission and the public. Now that council is involved, we hope that as elected officials, this council listens to your constituents and ensures that ADUs and townhouses are not permitted in the new zoning ordinance. Ms. Competella and our borough manager will try to defend their position by saying that these units are permitted only by conditional use. But they never dug deep into what this action means to our borough. In fact, when examples were presented to them concerning where ADUs would be permitted and their impact on the community,
They were dismissive of the findings and continued to use their power as government officials to force their will.
Mr. Wozniak,
I argue that.
your 3 minutes are up, Mr. Wood.
No. In closing, I just want to let everybody know, this is basically how the community has been treated through this entire process. When we were in the steering committee, we would be shut down whenever we would talk about what the community wanted as far as ADUs.
Mr. Wozniak, Mr. Wozniak, I'm not shutting you down. I'm telling you, there's 3 minutes. Wrap up your comments, please.
Somebody donate their time. In closing, I we respect what community interest in both no and allowing the building and of ADUs and townhouses in our residential neighborhoods. I ask you, please listen to your community. And about someone that's not about apartment, townhouses, they're considered, dwellings attached. And according to the, chart, they are conditional in the neighborhood residential, and in the community residential, they're permitted.
Let's get them all our topic.
What we're gonna do.
I would like to respond to something. I know this has come up a few times. I do want to say, as of the last meeting, I did share the findings that the planning commission had given us the recommendation that we remove the ADU section. We had discussed just before that meeting that it should be given to council anyways, just for transparency. No decision had been made, but I do want to apologize for the wording then. I had found out just before the meeting of the planning commission recommendation. I had not been given a reason why, and clearly I did not communicate that well. So that is on me, and I apologize, but that was not intentional on my end. That was simply, I was not prepared, and I did not have a reason for why that had come through, and I was a bit surprised by it. So I do want to clarify that and apologize if that came across poorly.
Thank you. What we're gonna do is Zoom, and then we'll come back to the raising hand. Looks like we did on the garbage. So for anybody on, okay, we do have some, just raise your hand if you would like to. They're released. Louder. Good.
She's still muted.
Oh, hi, Phyllis Barber from 17 Belvedere Street. My concerns, I don't know where my Belvedere is split in two in the proposed plan. It's residential on one side, and then the side that I'm on is a CR. I currently live next to 2 apartment buildings, which are just fine. We have a wonderful landlord. I get along with all the tenants. We respect each other's parking. I also live next to the church in question that is no longer a church and isn't used very often. When it was fully occupied as a church, most of the time I've lived here, there were, I could get around parking on Sundays or when they had meetings. But if that turns into residential, I'm concerned about parking availability because I don't have a driveway. And in looking at some of the earlier plans, I can't remember if it was 1 parking spot per house, but most houses have 2 or 3 cars. So if there's additional development, what are the parking requirements? They currently don't use the parking lot that is associated with the church. So that's my greatest concern, just on a personal note. And I've lived in the community for over 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have John Rago.
Thank you, council, for this evening. I know it's difficult. I think I served on council many years ago, and I think what's missing tonight is a discussion of the values that you're pursuing with this zoning exercise. Clearly, and I agree with all of the speakers, we want to preserve what we have and improve upon it. Public safety is the first obligation of government. This zoning effort should speak to that. You shouldn't be looking to generate more revenue through property taxes or whatever. This community is 1 mile square. We need to be careful with everything we do because you can have a profound effect on the character and nature of this community. And I would suggest to the solicitor, don't selectively enforce the 3-minute rule. You should be listening to what these folks have to say because this is a critical decision for this council. This process began in 2019. Many ideas and events have changed since then. You need to listen intently and speak to the values that this council is trying to reach, not the technical things that the manager is speaking about. Values are what matter. So I appreciate how difficult this is, but I think you all need to take a break and think about the values that we're pursuing here. That's it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Rego. Now, Cheryl Irwin.
Only time it ever went off was for you. I'm not selectively enforcing, it only went off for you.
Absolutely did. You said just to watch me after 3 minutes is up or whatever you said.
Yeah, but I've been timing everybody and you were
But
the.
you never said anything to anybody else.
Because they didn't go over 3 minutes. Mr. Goldberg, I guess.
John is my,
I'm just
favorite dad.
selectively enforce. All right, all due respect to Mr. Rego.
So, Mr. Irwin?
Yes, this is Cheryl Irwin and I'm 21 Creighton Avenue. And I would like you to answer one question for me. There is an Airbnb that is labeled the Pink Palace that has popped up on Creighton Avenue across the street from where I live. And it has been nothing but a nuisance property. It's been about almost 2 years now. And you say that teachers and snowbirds would come and rent. Well, that's not what's happening at this Airbnb. We are getting construction workers that come in and sit on our and smoke weed and yell on the phone. And it's very disturbing. So I would like to know, is Creighton Avenue part of that rezoning where Airbnbs are allowed to be?
No, and I should also mention that that is an illegal Airbnb and we have posted them several times, so we're actively pursuing that.
You're talking about it.
This is what happens.
So, okay, I appreciate that, because they do have tenants now that come in at about 10:30 at 11 o'clock at night and blasting their truck radio, and they'll sit out there and play the loud music. And I have been told in the past to call 911, but I don't consider that a dire emergency, but I do consider it being disrespectful. And I don't have air conditioning in my house, so my windows are open 24/7. And, it's people like that that are ruining our community. And it's just not fair. And they are behind a school, and I work at the school. And, you get all these strangers in and out, and you got kids playing on the playground. And I'm just not comfortable with it. So I really hope that it gets, not that I don't want anybody to lose their job or their livelihood, but I would really like to see it shut down very soon. Thank you.
Yeah, what do you want, add more Airbnb, right?
Anybody else on Zoom?
John, how do you want to handle the Q&A thing?
What's that?
The Q&A thing, how do you want to handle that? Because we can't determine if they're residents or not, right?
Right. So we can take those questions and just put it as part of our FAQ,
Okay.
which is good. So now we'll come back to here. If you're not on the list and you want to have a comment, that's something.
All right, I'm jumping up here, so I would kind of go off of what Greg had to say.
What's your name?
Stephanie Mangan, 96 Sarah Street. I have been kind of in the background of watching both Greg and my husband pour over documents. I mean, they have been passionate about the goodness of Crafton. It's a shame that Greg was passed over for a position. This man knows his stuff. And so everyone should listen to what he has to say. The shame that we're cutting him off at 3 minutes. Anywho, if anyone's confused about why the council or certain council persons seem to not want to let go of the ADUs, and I was at the last meeting, I've yet to see residents who are gung ho about
packing in bodies into Crafton, as it is. One council person's spouse let slip what they really think of the residents' opinions. And this has been discussed, publicly. Ignorant comments are discriminatory, prejudice, and laced with malice. I won't say names, but if you oppose packing renters in or, getting more bodies in Crafton, it's because you're ignorant. Not because there have been legitimate concerns. So legitimate concerns have been brought up time and again. I know because my husband have brought them up, many other people have brought them up. And so you seem to be ignoring some very legitimate, practical issues, because you think we're ignorant. So let me just kind of put that out there. So the other part of the equation, and people think that you're putting down renters. I don't think anyone wants to put down renters, but a district like ours can only take so much. But the other part of that equation is landlords. And clearly the council, as evidenced with this Pink Palace, as evidenced with a certain home in my neighborhood that I have to deal with, you're not doing a great job at holding accountable people who do not have a stake in our community. We're landlords, and that's not saying about, all landlords, obviously this is applied, but you start to welcome this sort of detachment to, the future of the community when you look at things like this. So you really should seriously consider getting on top of what is happening in our community now with, bad landlords and Airbnbs out of control and things like that. Before we even think about, the ADU thing should be crossed out completely. Again, not sure why it continually comes back. So I'm not an ignorant community member. I'm somebody who is directly affected by homes that have been chopped up and they're rented out by people who do not live in our community, and they attract the kind of people who really don't care about the condition of the home. So these are all things that I hope you're listening, council. I hope you're taking, these are very legitimate concerns.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott, for the accountability there.
Hi, my name's Chris Abbott and I live at 22 Oregon Avenue. The house was purchased in 1962 by my husband's parents. It was R2, there were 2 units in it. A lot of my neighbors had R2. When they bought their houses, they all were required to change them back to R1s. So you saying that they're R2 on Oregon Avenue, no, they're at the end. When you work the districts, you're putting R2. They're not. They made us, not that we didn't want to, but it's a nice little area. We raised our families there. We love it there. And by putting units in again, the parking situation is going to get out of hand like it was back when I first was married.
For clarity, are you looking for
I want it to stay residential 1.
R1?
Because that's what they actually made everybody who was walking out, the strollers. Everly's were all, it's all 3-minute chat. Everybody wants to know what your name is. What's your first name?
I didn't say anything about 3 minutes.
No, for your opinion.
To me and ask me what's going on and I come, no, that's more about.
Okay, thank you.
You might come home.
That's what I just want to say. It's not an R2 district.
Thank you.
The chief said.
I'm sorry, I signed in, but I didn't know that I was supposed to click on what I want to speak about. John Meehan, 56 Bradford Avenue. Former council member, former planning commission member, former school district director. And I want to thank the young ladies and gentlemen that spoke in behalf of what John Rego spoke about. We all really like the traffic part. So I was going to ask one question and make one comment, but I've decided not to make a comment about your consultant because I don't believe that attacking you would be fair. But my question is, it goes back to John Rego. Where is it, as a concerned citizen, can I find any impact studies of what he's bringing to your attention? Infrastructure concern.
quality of life concerns, parking concerns, where can I find impact studies that have been done with your proposal? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Terry Leslie. I live in Navy Workshop in Wood Avenue. Mr. Solicitor, I have sat back there and watching you preoccupied, reading your.
Thank
You really do not care about what we have to say.
Yes.
Sure, yes, yeah, I can have your undivided attention. I'll only do 2 minutes, okay? I wasn't prepared to speak tonight, so I don't have anything prepared. I want to let you know, I am a member of St. Philip's Church. So to say that I am skeptical when people are not transparent about their plans, that says the least. Okay, Mr. Price, I am going to give you the benefit of the doubt when you were reading over about the conversion apartments and you said, if churches closes their door in the future, those structures could be converted into apartments. Funny, mine says school or church. Now, I don't know what designs anybody has on St. Philip's School. We are not Sasa. We are not the strip district. We are not Lawrenceville. People are not going to buy condos and lofts from the Methodist Church and from St. Philip's School. You know that. So what kind of people do you think you're gonna rent to? I'll tell you what, you try to touch that school, I will personally fill this conference room 5 times over, because you will be in for the fight of your life.
I have to say something now. Katie Kellen, 15 North Glenwood. I'm gonna piggyback off of what she said because I'm watching a lot of your expressions on your face and it just looks like none of you give a shit. About our borough, truly, it really doesn't. Half of you don't live here, half of you are not from here. I know a couple of you are not really truly from here. You don't care about what happens to this borough. You truly do not care what happens to this borough. You're in it for your paycheck and that's all it is. That's all it is, a money grab and a paycheck for you. You need to start caring about what the people of this community want. That's exactly what you need to start doing. Yeah.
These are about the zoning too.
Well, I was mentioning to the investors, you want to start sending letters to our properties. We're an investor, we're interested in your house. My neighbor got a call. How big is your house? How many rooms do you have? How many floors? What the heck is that?
already know.
Yeah. Investor.
I have a couple questions about the whole zoning thing. If we do add additional rentals. Has anybody done a study to see the impact on the electricity, water, sewage? Our power flickers all summer long. The second the temperature goes above 70. Power is dropping out on people left and right. I don't see how adding is gonna help that. You know, there was a mention, and I'm sorry that I don't know about this rental zoning gig that's being discussed, but I think somebody else also said it, but I think we need to get a better handle of what homes are being rented. Are they truly being identified as income property? I've got one kitty corner to me that the borough is well aware of, because they've had to go and talk to them a number of times. Extension cords out the windows, because they didn't pay their electric bill for enough time. You know, I think the borough needs to get a better handle of what properties are actually being used as rentals. And maybe get that a little bit more on top of things. I think a better monitoring of those properties to make sure they aren't being turned into holes, frankly. which a lot of them are. I know Susan is one person who does a whole lot, but I think the borough needs to be a little bit more active in the monitoring of the Airbnbs and, the rentals. This is going on and you guys don't know. And that needs to be fixed. I don't know how you fix that. That's not what I do for a living. So I just appreciate that we maybe look at what we have first before we contemplate allowing additional properties to be added to our community. I moved here 27 years ago, and I was joking with people and said, you know, I feel like Beaver Creeper is gonna come skipping up my street anytime. I get 350 kids for Halloween. This is a neighborhood that people envy me for when I tell them about it. I know every single one of my neighbors on my block. I have friends in every other community. They have no idea who their next door neighbor is. We all look out for each other. We need to keep that. We are unique and we need to maintain that.
Thank you, Ms. Fox.
Alex Schaefer, 70 North Emily Street. I just want to bring rise to whoever just said that. Very well put. There is an unpermitted auxiliary unit directly adjacent to my property. And I have to say they are respectful, but to be honest with you, they're not really up on the maintenance. They're kind of bringing down my property. And I do want to say, I think we don't realize how much this is actually happening right now. And you mentioned that the only way to allow for this type of use is through a conditional use permit. In my experience and in the profession that I'm in, a conditional use permit is just another way for the local government to get a little bit more money, control the riffraff. So give me an example of when somebody would file for a conditional use permit and that use not to be granted. Because it seems like all you gotta do is just apply for that CUP and it's just gonna get granted.
That's Michael Trask, 126. I just wanted to inquire, once again, on that conservancy section, because in that section in the upper on Steuben Street, there's 71 parcels on the map. My parcel's one, my neighbor's has 3 little parcels that make up his property. The remaining parcels in that section, there are no properties on. So my inquiry is, what do I need to do? Where do I need to email? What do I need to do to have those combined 4 parcels switch from conservancy to residential, and the rest of that conservancy is state conservancy? I don't want it, I know it's grandfathered, I just don't want it to be conservancy for multiple reasons. So someone can just tell me what I need to do. Who do I need to email? Yeah.
Please email the block and lot numbers of all of the lots to Mr. Price.
Great, thank you.
And you're on, are you talking 126?
126, yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Once again, Greg Wolbert, 37 Atlanta. I'm gonna change a little bit to start with. I want to know who's in charge of hiring Jordan Tax Service. Have you ever seen God? Because if you ever try to call them, that's what
I know, and I would say at the end of the meeting, because right now it's just the zoning, so at the end of the meeting, and we do have somebody that's gonna, has that question. So,
I just
yeah.
want, because you cannot deal with them.
And that's, you could just hold to the end of the meeting.
My other
On the
comment,
zoning.
as I was saying before, with the property, and we're having some problems with. We had a letter sent to us stating that, we needed a structural engineer to come in and look at a building that we had put a garage door in. So I talked to our whatever, DJ or whatever, he says, well, if you don't handle commercial, I gotta go downtown. So I get the number for downtown, I called down there, and I talked to him. He says, I never said anything about a structural engineer. I said, I said, you need an architect to get an occupancy permit. So I go back to DJ,
He has no idea what he's talking about, and neither does the guy downtown. I said to the guy downtown, I says, can you come up and get together with us in person and talk? You know, what his comment was, I don't have time. So that's the kind of people you're hiring for this borough to do the jobs.
The downtown?
The downtown guy told me he didn't have time to come up and go over things with me and our inspector. Okay, so
Is it for the Legion?
it's for the Legion. And the other comment we have is, okay, the Legion had a kitchen, it was also run as a banquet hall. We have someone interested in running the building and the catering service and banquet hall and also possible like dinner, stuff like that, okay? And it seems like we're sort of being shoved off by certain officials. When we tried to get the America or the KSC down there, and I won't mention names like everybody else did, but I think her name's been mentioned quite a few times here. She insisted that we didn't have enough parking to move into that building. And we were not in Crafton's future plans for another auto shop in Crafton. And she insisted that I give her 20 foot of green space in our parking lot. And the other comment is, she also told me no lighted signs. The Crafton Borough put in a lighted sign, St. Philip's put in a lighted sign, the vape shop over there looks like I don't know what over there, anything like that. Believe me, I'm all for business in Crafton. I think the more business we can bring in, I'm not saying tear down residential places, but we have commercial area that we need to work on. Okay, and it seems like seriously, Crafton is totally against that. And I'll tell you one other thing. Dennis Joyce told me years ago, he says, the people in Crafton want to be strictly residential, they want no commercial. You know, the problem is, we can't survive without commercial taxes.
Yeah. Trying to do it. I agree.
Evening, Spirit 79 Rockford Avenue. Greg, thanks for the segue. My comment is going to be a couple of things. Number one, I would say that I personally appreciate the effort that council members have put in. We have, aside from the time, we have a timekeeper. We have not been shut down. We are here. Everybody is tired at the end of the day, but you have given both topics full time so we could ask all of our questions and get waste management done. So I just want to say, you all don't get much for doing this job, and I appreciate it, and I just would like to thank you for that.
Thank you.
The second thing I would like to say, the piggyback to Greg, is that the problem Crafton faces is tax generation and revenue. And solving that through residential is not obviously a desirable answer for what we have to trade and give up. So therefore, I'd love to see as much effort as possible put into, with perhaps some necessary concessions, to driving commercial. And I know that there are plans to do that, but that's where I think the majority of our energy should be. It should be focused on commercial development. The second thing I think is that we have rental income. I'd love to see us look at what do we know about our rental records, about the income tax that they're paying. Are we getting into this borough the kind of money we should be getting from those renters who are consuming our services? So that would be one. And if we do go to something like a catering shop or whatever else, there's a privilege tax in this borough for doing business here. Now that's a cost to inviting them, but how much is that enforced? And what are we getting out of our borough? And are we getting it for the contractors? And are we getting them for the subcontractors? Or are we just allowing people to do what they want in this borough? So that's my strong opinion. And I'll just say this, I joined planning commission because this is one of the things I'm happy about. So I'm joining planning next week. So that's it.
Thank you, AJ. Anybody else? On this area? Right, so for council, now it turns over to council. I think we just saw the zoning plan here, so this is for the first time seeing the zoning plan. Tonight was to get public opinion, which has been great. You know, that's extremely helpful. The process is for us to discuss. And then the planning commission is meeting on Tuesday. That is a public meeting at 6:30. So I encourage you to also go to that meeting and bring up any views that you have. The council ultimately will approve the final version after the Allegheny County and all the things, and it's listed here on the agenda. So, the council, any thoughts, comments after what you've heard today?
Just want to bake for.
What's that?
Said, just want to bake for a while.
I think it's clear that we should move forward with the plan commission's recommendation to remove the ADU wording from the final draft. I would also say we should look at removing the conversion apartments from both the neighborhood and community residential.
I'd agree with that. And we do have planning commission members here tonight, so, you know, they're also hearing a lot of the comments.
Yeah, I'm also planning commission, so next Tuesday, I'm gonna come, please do.
Anybody else?
I agree.
Yeah, it's essentially what I'm just jotting down the same thing Vince just said, so.
Great. So tonight is not a vote or anything, we're not at that point, it's basically we're waiting for the planning commission to come back. Then we will likely discuss at our next meeting on that September 13th. Okay, it is 10 o'clock. But we have more agenda items here, so our next one is the rental inspection ordinance.
All right, rental inspection ordinance. All right, so I have a memo about that as well. This is basically a background of this proposal. This is currently the current law, the current ordinance requires inspections when properties sell or when rental units flip hands. And leases to a new tenant. The ordinance requires property owners to contact the borough and schedule an inspection. The purpose of this ordinance is to ensure that the property is up to code prior to sale or occupancy and helps to ensure that troubled properties are back brought to code. Many property owners simply ignore the ordinance or are not even aware that it exists, and nor does the borough have the adequate procedure for tracking residential and commercial tenants. So the proposed revisions are updated ordinance accomplish numerous objectives as follows. Flips the responsibility of initiating an inspection from the property owner to the borough, hence dealing with those rental properties more effectively. By doing so, the borough now has the mechanism to catalog and track all rental units within the borough, and landlords will no longer be able to ignore the ordinance. While we estimate that there are approximately 1,650 rental units in the Grafton, this would require all landlords to register with the borough, and to a point earlier, if you've already registered, you would still be registered. It establishes a standing regular inspections every 3 years, as opposed to at the time of tenant property turnover, because some people might live in a unit for 10, 15 years. And we want to make sure that it's being inspected more often than that. The inspections only apply to landlords who are renting their apartments. The inspection requirement for property sales is rescinded unless the new owner intends to rent the property. And so there would be an implementation portion to this. So upon adoption, if adopted, Grafton Borough and code enforcement would enforce the ordinance and will establish following procedures for enforcement in sequential order. Build an online landlord registration system. Notify all Grafton property owners via positive mailer of the ordinance change and how it will protect Grafton from deteriorating properties and poor property management. The mailer will also serve as a notification for landlords to register via the website. And the building and code enforcement will build and maintain a regular schedule of inspections, starting with known troubled properties and working our way towards responsible property owners. The inspections will occur every 3 years thereafter. And with that, put it up for discussion.
I was, sorry.
Go ahead, you first.
I'm just saying, I would highly recommend we table this till next week. This is a really important ordinance, and I think it deserves the time. Now, I will rush it through, given how late it is.
I was gonna say the same thing. Also, some comments were made earlier about checking on some of the wording and perhaps, double checking some of the numbers. And I think that we'd like to go back and do that and make sure that we're ready. And have the time to really review all the wording and the time to take comments before we.
Did they say what the charges are gonna be to the owners of the buildings?
Is that fees are set every year by ordinance, so the fee is a resolution at the end of every year.
So for council, did you want to table this subject?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we will table this.
All right, the next item on my list is the leaf vac and chipper box. We did approve this at the last meeting. It's approve the purchase of a Tarco Windy 100 and custom chipper box. But we realized that a grant that our quote had expired. So we weren't able to purchase it at that price. So this is to approve it at the new price. So I'd like to get a motion to approve the purchase of a Tarco leaf vac and chipper box for a total of $101,765. And that's about a $4,000 increase from the last time it was out.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Chandler. Discussion or comment?
Are we getting that $4,000? Is that budgeted for that additional amount or?
No, that was above what we had budgeted for, but we have a $65,000 grant for this. So we're paying the offset. I will say that this is probably one of the most popular programs that we do, the chipper collection program, so.
If it was approved, when would we take ownership of it? Is there a wait for it to
Yes,
arrive?
and I don't remember.
Would we have it for this fall?
I think it might be it's gonna be like 4 or 5 months. Yeah.
So we would not have it for this. When does the current grant expire?
Good question. I think the end of the year. But
November 13th.
November 13th it expires?
So we might we're gonna ask for an extension if we need a lead time. So we can get it.
Are you thinking for the next year's budget?
I'd like to make a motion to table this as well until the finance committee can further review the budget and see where we're at on overages.
Right, so what we have is right now, we have a motion on the table. We had discussion and now,
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Hoff made a motion to table, so if there's a second, someone should second it. And then if there's no debate, we just vote on the motion to table.
I'll second that.
okay. All right, Ms. McCown seconds. So now we vote on.
Motion to table.
Okay.
Yes.
No discussion.
No discussion.
No debate on the motion to table.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
So one, so motion to table passes.
I asked a question now. Okay. I'm waiting to be brisk, having a higher price.
No, if we wait, no, in a couple weeks, we're not gonna have a higher price. I think the quote lasts for like 60 days, but we had gotten this quote very early in the year and then just used it. So waiting won't change the price.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Yep, and then the last thing on my portion of the agenda is the budget process schedule. Our first draft of budget and choices weren't introduced today, but we will introduce them at the next meeting. And then we have the first budget workshop also at the next meeting. And then you can see the schedule here. We do have to make a decision tonight, though, about Thanksgiving meeting. Are we gonna push it back a week? Because we have to advertise it. And so are we going to cancel that meeting or have a meeting a week earlier?
I mean, what we did last year and prior years, I think we pushed it to the Monday before, but we also looked at dates that were available. So this is the meetings on November 28th, but we obviously not gonna meet then. And then do we push it there? I would hate to cancel it because of budget. Make sure that's right before the budget. So if you look, we are having a meeting on November 14th. We can show that thing, but November 14th, 28th would need to be moved. So maybe it's something like the 25th.
Yeah, I got it.
Yes.
which we've traditionally done in the past, where we've pushed it to the. Yeah. Okay. So we do have to advertise. Just trying to think if everybody needs to check their calendars and make sure, but we say tentative, or we need to.
I mean, we don't need to schedule it, we don't need to advertise it right this minute, but we do need to make sure it's.
You should promote the next
meeting.
Next meeting. Yeah, okay. So let's say November 25th, please check your calendars to make sure it's okay, and then next meeting. Okay. Engineers reports.
All right, good evening. First item, the Broadhead project. The most current update with this is we're just finishing up the federal application, which is required for the project. And once it's complete, we're gonna move forward with putting out the bid as soon as possible, hopefully within the next few weeks here. The Green Street, which has been the subject in the past meetings, the property owner currently has the latest easement agreement. And right now they're having internal conversations with their attorneys and discussing future plans on their own. And nothing forward with that, but that's the latest update for Broadhead. Next one is the stairs project. The crack in the walnut stairs and the promenade downstairs have been under construction up to this point in time to where they just need their handrails installed. This is custom fabrication work that does take some time. It's expected to take 10 to 12 weeks before this gets installed. And the stairs will remain closed until then. The contractor is moving on to the last of the stairs, which is Crafton Clearview. And the scope of work for this, which was originally resurfacing and handrails. But after they had reassessed the stairs, they had decided that they weren't going to be able to give us the best possible product by resurfacing. So on their own cost, what they're going to do is grind down steps, add reinforcement, and pour new concrete, essentially giving us new stairs. So that's the latest update with those. The paving contract, had another site meeting with the awarded contractor Felino earlier this week on Monday to discuss the handrail, which is being subbed out by their own contractor. And we wanted to discuss coordinating and how that work would get done with the milling and paving. It was then addressed, requested by me, can we get an updated schedule on the work moving forward? I have not received that yet this week, but it was asked, requested. But it was verbally mentioned by them, they would be able to take care of the inlet on Promenade Street as soon as next week. The next item is the PA American Water main replacement that's been going on in the borough. The last street that has any impacted infrastructure work is Union. They were scheduled and started the service line transfer work on the 19th. The work is ongoing. And once that has been completed, the brick road restoration will take place. The next item is the EV charging. Again, this is being spearheaded by Duquesne Lights Electrify Allegheny program. And the only update, more of a reminder this time, is that we are applying for funding through Connect. Next item is the trail feasibility study. The RFP has been reviewed internally through the Crafton Borough and has been forwarded off to the grant project manager with DCNR. She had a couple of revisions that need to be made and was also made clear that we need to put together our study committee before we scope and pursue a consultant rather than after. So that'll be one of the next steps is putting this together. We need to put together a member list of names, their affiliation with the community, and their position on the board. The next item, the Public Works Building. I have a meeting scheduled with the previous project manager who had worked on the project up to this point next Tuesday afternoon, where we will be discussing the next steps and future plans that need to be put together along with specifications so we can get this out to a bid for a multi-prime contractor. Next, the C20 updates. The separation projects are almost at 100%, but are on hold as well as the bid documents until we have awarded the projects, the Grove Award project. Green infrastructure portion projects are almost at 100% because due to Alcosan's requests for the details and further progress to make sure that it would work, that project has been put towards 100%. But is also on hold with the bid documents until it has been awarded. The last item is the Noble Playgrounds.
Again, this is a grant that has been received by DCNR, 250K. It is important to remind you that it is a 50-50 match grant. And right now, I'm in the process of putting together an initial drawing showing a conceptual design with proposed features that will be used as a discussion point in future meetings where that will include the community and they'll be able to provide their input and feedback on what should be proposed. That said, that concludes the engineer's report.
One comment I want to make about Noble and Linwood, that was approved even prior, I think, to a lot of this council. It was a hung council twice for that, so there was lots of questions within council about whether this would get passed. So I think now that we are learning that it is only good for one part, and it's also 200 and just there's this $250,000 match on the $250,000 grant for this for just one park. I think we as council need to look at this again and maybe have further discussion about it. Like I said, it was approved. It actually went to a 3-3 vote twice. And the mayor did split the vote at the end, which is the normal process. But due to that, due to where we are now and learning more information, I believe that we need to discuss this further. Questions, comments, or thoughts about?
But I agree with that. It's a lot to match.
Yeah.
That's a huge park.
Okay, so we can include this for more information, probably a little bit of history at the next meeting, plus more information about where we are going forward. So we can have a discussion from council perspective. Okay, standing committee reports. Finance Administration Sustainability, Ms. Perry.
I think she actually has dropped off. It is 2 o'clock in the morning where she's at. So, Mike, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Police chief search at the last meeting, we discussed and voted on increasing the amount to allow for a second day of interviews for potential candidates. And we did approve the additional budget, but unfortunately that was a verbally quoted amount and it did not include travel and accommodations for the consultants. Once we got the written contract in hand, I noticed the $1,200 discrepancy and brought it to the attention of the rest of the police search committee and then, to the rest of you. So with that said, I'd like to make a motion to approve a $1,200 increase to the current $11,800 cap for the purpose of conducting additional interviews for the police chief search.
So moved.
Ms. Buchanan.
Second. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Chandler. Discussion or question?
And where's the extra money coming from?
It is budgeted, we had $20,000 budgeted, the total will not exceed 13 and the Police Chiefs Association, that's the maximum they think it would be. It will most likely be under 13,000. So that's the maximum they would charge us.
Especially for the large number of community members here, our police chief is retiring and the police secretary are both retiring at the end of this year. So conducting a search that is a very fair search. With internal and external candidates being part of that. And there's a search committee that includes council members and the mayor, as the mayor's responsible for the police department is the process of the. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Infrastructure and land use, Ms. Contello.
Right, I have just one update. The Safe Streets for All, SS for All federal grant, we've been speaking about over the past number of months. Seeing that funding source and trying to prepare for whether we thought it would be a good fit for our community. We approved a resolution at the last meeting. We are preparing for an August 29th application. That application, Crafton would be the lead applicant, but it will be a multi-municipal application for the Safe Streets for All federal grant. Carnegie, Ingram, Roslyn Farms have all joined the application with us.
That's awesome. Planning conditions for the building.
Hello, so our next meeting is next Tuesday at 6:30, I believe. And we'll be signing off on these
the zoning draft. Thank you.
And that is a public meeting,
Yes, public, please join.
and
It'll be
Yes.
here.
in here and in Zoom. On Zoom.
Correct. All that.
Great. Communication, recreation, stolen box.
Our next event is Fall Fest. It's Saturday, September 28th from 1 to 6. As of this morning, we had over 30 craft vendors. 4 food booths and 3 food trucks. We also have Back Alley Brewing providing some liquid fun there. We'll kick the day off with the pet costume contest and parade. This is the one day of the year where the dog ban will be lifted in the park. If you'd like your dog to participate, it is a $10 registration fee, and all proceeds will be donated to Cross Your Paws Rescue. So if you want more information on the, rules and regulations to bring your dog to the park, please go to the borough website. They're printed out there. Prizes will be awarded for the most creative costume as well as the funniest costume and best in show. Other entertainment we'll have that day. We will have Elements Dance Troupe doing a recital, and we also have the Corn Liquor Saints, which is a band, which will be there for the remainder of the day. Entertainment that we'll have axe throwing, balloon artists, face painting, inflatable obstacle courses, touch a truck, bubble house, kids crafts, spin art, and lawn games. We will also be having some merchandise showing our new Crafton logo. We'll have a booth for that as well, so you can come down and purchase some of that. We, as always, please are looking for volunteers. If you can even just give us an hour of your time, if you're planning on coming down from Fall Fest, even an hour of volunteer time would be greatly appreciated. And if you can do that for us, or if you'd like to be a vendor of any kind, go ahead and go to Crafton Borough's website, and it's craftonborough.com/fallfest. Other than that, next after that is our Haunted Crafton Tour, and that kicks off with the Trunk or Treat on August 19th. The tour itself runs from the 19th through the 31st. We will do the Trunk or Treat. It will be from 6:30 to 8:30 at the park. So if you have a scary story to tell, or just want to show off your decorations, come be part of the haunted tour. And if you live in a street that doesn't get a whole lot of trick or treaters, the Trunk or Treat might be a good option for you to come see the kiddos in their costumes and hand out candy. So if you're interested in either of those, either being part of the Trunk or Treat or the tour, same, please go to Crafton Borough, though you can go to craftonborough.com/haunted-crafton-tour. And you can sign up for either one. We will also have haunted mini golf every Friday and Saturday, 7 p to 9 p from October 4th through October 26th, weather pending. And our other coming updates, or our other events that I'll have more details for as we get closer, is our Celebration of Lights, which is Saturday, December 7th. Our Holiday Home House Tour, which is Sunday, December 15th. And just as a note, we did cancel our November senior dinner this year. So if anybody has any questions other than that, that's it for my report. Actually, my apologies. I do have one more. Newsletter. Articles for our next newsletter will be due Monday, September 23rd, and I believe the email for notification of that will come out in the next week or so to let people know. And now I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goldenbacher. Commission vacancy, Ms. McCombs.
Yeah, this should be short and sweet. Currently, all of our seats and positions for our commissions and our boards are all full, which is great. So I know many people that were here today are sitting on these commissions or boards or have applied. So I appreciate all of that and thank you for doing that. We will have a couple upcoming positions a little bit later towards the end of September. So again, same process, Savvy Citizen website will be posting all that information. So always encourage you, if so many of you want to be involved, there's a great opportunity to do that by joining some of these commissions and boards, and I would encourage you all to do that. But yeah, not till the end of September for our next round.
Thank you. In council, the card, Ms. Goldenbacher.
Still in summer break. The next meeting is Thursday, September 19th at 6:30 in Kennedy.
All right, community announcements. Our next council meeting is on September 12th at 7 o'clock and 6:30 budget workshop right before that. Fall Fest, all the details are on the agenda and Ms. Goldenbacher went through that. And also the annual Haunted Crafton Driving Tour, which Ms. Goldenbacher went through. So now, will anybody else have any announcements or?
I do.
Sure.
Did the pool hours change since last meeting?
Yeah, then we did
We should touch on that because we did report that it was gonna be closed and it's not.
Yeah, and we put it out on Savvy, so we put it out on Savvy and it's on the website, so they were, because we rely on the manager to decide whether we're gonna be able to stay open based on staffing. And she was able to stay open from 4 to 7, so I don't remember the dates, I think we're still open from 4 to 7 this week and then, next week and then we close.
Is that correct? Saturday and Sunday, it's still noon to 7 though, even this weekend.
Yeah.
Which initially it was not, so, yeah.
And it will still be open Labor Day weekend.
Correct.
For the final weekend.
Last chance for the pool.
Already it's closing, they just opened.
Right else.
Okay, anything else? Okay, at this time, citizens may address the Grafton Borough Council, so this is another public comment section for items that are not on today's agenda. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Grafton will be permitted to address the council. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Council has the option to respond or not to each address. Please state your name and physical address for the record. So I have some on our sign-in sheet. The first one, it looks like, is Robert.
All right, my name is Robert Marmon. I'm from Creighton Avenue. Some of you may or may not know me. I work for the Department of Public Works. I'm here to represent the rest of the public works department as well. So I have a few questions, and these are more so geared towards the council members. So the public works department has been pretty much under heavy scrutiny lately. With a lot of changes. And I know as residents, you guys see how we take care of the streets, what we do, we're out there every day, we're getting things done. But upper management has made it clear that council has an issue with the way that our department has been run. Is go, so does any of the members on council have anything to say about that?
You have the option to respond if you'd like.
I mean, it would be pretty nice if you would respond.
Can you give us an example of what you think we have an issue with?
I don't know, all the changes that are being done. So our department is being told that we have to punch in by facial recognition on an iPad. So we're punching in on an iPad. We're the only department in this town punching in on an iPad with facial recognition. You have full staff, you have crossing guards, you have the police department, and multiple other people in this room right now that don't account for their time. But we're being forced to account for our time by facial recognition. That's a prime example. Being singled out. So we're being singled out is what I'm getting at. And what we're being told by upper management is that the reason we're being singled out is because the council members on this council requested these issues to be resolved. So what are the issues? What are the issues? Your union. Yeah, nobody likes a union, and that's the problem.
I'm not sure how we can respond because we don't,
What was discussed to me?
we did not discuss that.
And Stuart, I'm gonna let you know now that I've sat in meetings, and if any one of the council members in this room would like to sit in a meeting that we have when we have an issue, you are more than welcome to sit in that meeting.
Okay.
And you can hear some of the issues that go on. And then my next issue that I have that I would like to bring up, and I know a lot of residents in the town have the question as well. Why are we hiring all these people for these high paid positions? Now, as Mr. Woodward had brought up earlier, he's getting a runaround with the issues with the garage door that he had, and he has to go downtown and do stuff. Didn't we hire an engineer? Is this our engineer right here? He couldn't get up and do anything to try to help him, guide him in the right direction? That's our engineer. You're paying him taxpayer dollars to do what? I mean, come on, guys, get it together. Oh, I'm out of time. I'm sorry, Corbin.
Actually, you get.
I was gonna let the residents know in this room, that after I came up and I gave this speech, now I'm gonna have a target on my back.
Yes, he is.
And so the entire public works department, support your public works department, support your police department. Don't support these fools sitting right here. They don't live here. They don't live here. You live here. You live here, but you haven't grown up here. I spent my entire life in this town. Any one of you can't say that same thing. Maybe you,
Sorry.
and I apologize.
I grew up here as well.
I've been here 30 years. So,
Okay, I'm sorry, but listen, 30 years, it doesn't look like you care about the community, and that's all I have to say.
They're still gonna have a target on their back.
Yeah, so all the run, yeah, we will, and we will continue to file grievances.
all right, our next person we have is AJ.
She's not up.
She's gone. Okay, great.
Wait, I already said it was.
Thank you. Okay, I guess that's.
Somebody didn't insult anybody.
Well, I hope I agree.
All right, we will go to Zoom.
There's one. There was
We'll
one.
do Zoom and then we'll. So anybody on Zoom, want to raise your hand? All right, same process again. I can't see you. I'm sorry. Come on up.
Yes, my name is Rona Rush. And I live in 794 Clearview. First. My parents had no money to send me to college. UNOS, when I was a teenager, sponsored an essay contest. The winner of the essay contest got half tuition to bed. Thanks to you, I today hold a doctorate, have been a teacher and a principal. So thank you, Team Sturman. Here's my saying your name correctly. Thank you for responding to emails, because the rest of you don't. It's rude. As a school principal, if I didn't respond to an email, what do you think would happen to me? It was rude. I think I might be paying my taxes. And I might be paying some salaries. So when one person has the decency to respond to an email, I thank her. Now we know the next topic and the last topic. By the way, thank you. It's about hoarding. In 2019, you published a report, the first section of which referred to blight. What has happened? We have more blight, that's what's happening. And I'd like to share the picture of the house right next to me, where there's a hoarder. He doesn't even stay there at night anymore, because he hoards in his other house in Upper St. Clair. The whole house is jam-packed. I can also show you the window. Oh, come on, Angel, you're chewing gum. No, it's not professional to chew. And if I choose to into what happened here. The whole house is like this. It must be. And then one day, I look out my kitchen window, and what do I see? I see a rat.
I like borders. I'm sorry.
You're getting attention. Yes, thank you. I go in my kitchen window into his second floor bedroom, where there are boxes of against. There's a rat. Oh, I guess.
Let her finish talking, come on.
Yeah.
So you kidding me? Let her finish talking.
It's been 3 minutes. You can you wrap it up? That's why I said everything.
Anyway, there was a rat. So of course I called everybody. Health department, etc. Now, I know you keep telling me there's nothing you can do. And you also are aware it has devalued my property. Not to mention, I'm afraid of it, even though it doesn't even stay there. He comes to water the disgraceful thing you worked. Now, as I said in my email, stupid me, what am I doing now? I'm going to spend $5,000 more to improve my property. In spite of all. I can for replying to my email. I wish the rest of you would follow Carl's way of doing it. Thank you, Union. Bye.
Yeah, I just want to talk and show my appreciation publicly to these guys that are.
Name and.
Greg Wozniak, Green Bar Avenue. I wanted to say publicly that, they show our support for maintenance crews in our borough. They support us in every way. They're here supporting the community tonight. They support us by cleaning the roads, whatever. You guys are doing a great job. Keep it up, and, when you have concerns, voice them, because otherwise you're not gonna be heard.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Since you brought up rats. Alright, Bob Wilbert, Lenny Stoops. So I did call the borough about rat control, and I guess Crompton does not have a animal control for rats. So I did have to hire an independent to poison the rats.
Where was it?
Lenny Stoops.
At your house?
Yes. So I don't know if Grafton is having any issues, if they've been getting calls. And if there's anything the borough itself can do. I know Mount Lebanon has a very nice pest control, as soon as you call them, they're out. They send a team out to treat the problem. Fortunately enough, I was able to afford to pay for the treatment for that. And I haven't seen rats lately. And now, I think I called the borough about 2 months ago. So it'll be interesting to see if there is a rat infestation in Grafton area. Skunks, that's probably why skunks are here, they eat rats.
We haven't received calls I haven't received any calls about rats. We've received a few about skunks, but nothing about
I
rats.
called Laura and asked her,
Okay,
and, didn't go any further than that.
Or it's the borough.
she's the
The
police.
police secretary.
She might have directed me up to the Senate.
Are they doing anything with the skunks?
No, we don't do anything with the skunks. If you have skunks on your private property, you need to trap them and deal with them yourself.
You know, what we do up Lake Erie, trap them in a cage, get the dirty spurring part there is, put a tarp over, put a pipe from the tailpipe running for about and you don't throw it in the dumpster or in the trash, because the guy who collects the trash, when he squeezes it, he threatens he's never coming back. One more comment before I use up my 3 minutes. Is anything going on with the athletic?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm old, it's athletic. Because I know I did come to one council meeting here, and I don't know, people are against building homes. And I suggested for us residents that want to live in one story to build a 4-unit cube where one door is on each side with a garage. And there's a couple of White Cane Hospital. Very nice complex. For people, seniors grew up in Grafton, don't want to move out of Grafton, but there's a limited amount of one-story homes, ranches, with the garage on the same.
That property is owned by the school district.
Yes, well, I know this was. Okay, that's it. I just want to thank all your council. You take a lot of heat all the time. I'm glad I've never been on council. But I want to thank you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the road crew. All these guys, except for the murder.
Anybody else?
I would like to just add one thing to what I said. Do I have to say it up in regard?
Are you coming? Oh, okay.
So what I would like to add, I don't know if I kind of went over it, so as far as it goes, like with us doing the new punch in and everything like that, I would like council to look into possibly having like management as well, track their hours. Just as a resident, I would like to be able to see what hours the management puts in on their own. I know their salary, and that's fine, but just to keep track of it, and I'd like to know. So that's the only other thing that I want to add.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, it is 10:47.
Just made it an even 11.
We can hang out.